across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Talk Drive. It's just gone 4 o'clock. Thank you to Ian Collins. I'm not going to lie. I've done a Kevin O'Sullivan. My thing's fallen out. I do apologise, and it's not professional, and I'm not very impressed with myself, but there we go. I'm back. Welcome to Talk Drive. Very kind of you to tune in. Ian back tomorrow afternoon, as ever, with the afternoon show. But Drive is on the home of free speech and common sense, and it's another day of madness in the world of politics, in the world of things going on, and we'd love to have your involvement. Jodie is back. I just feel differently. She's been away for a couple of days. She's back. She's ready to take your calls, my friends. 0344 499 1000. Ryan here as well. Voice notes are always welcome via your WhatsApp if that's how you do it. 0344 499 1000, same number. And of course, as ever, if you'd like to text the show, 87222, start your message with the word talk. Suddenly, through the glass this afternoon, there's a plethora of people staring at me. What are they all doing? The world's changed. Right, what do we get on with? Kemi Badenoch. Today was her day. She has had, by anybody's standards, a pretty torrid time. Her approach was, and I quote, over the last 15 months, since she became leader, was to do a review and look at where the Tory party went wrong. Now, in that time, in that vacuum, it would be fair to say that Nigel Farage, certainly Reform, and other parties, but predominantly Reform, have really sort of grabbed the initiative and made all the announcements about immigration, about welfare reform. We were told repeatedly Badenoch is interested in costing things properly and making sure that she puts forward concrete policies for the British people. Today she stood up at the party conference and, to be fair, a pretty large announcement. She has announced that she is going to abolish stamp duty. Have a listen, my friends.
Stamp duty is a bad tax. It is an unconservative tax. The last Conservative government cut stamp duty for thousands of home buyers. But now we must go further. We must free up our housing market, because a society where no one can afford to buy or move is a society where social mobility is dead. I have looked at the rates you have to pay to see if we can lower them. I have decided that we can't, because that simply wouldn't be enough. Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
Listen, the cynics are already saying, is that all you have to offer? But it's a pretty monumental decision. Stamp duty, of course, a tax on property purchases in England and Northern Ireland, formerly called stamp duty. It's been called land tax. It's paid in threshold bands based on the value of your property. It's a huge outlay for people. They reckon that by doing this, they will save people, just basically say to people, you can make something of your life. It's going to cost billions of pounds. She says she'll make that saving, 47 million, fully costed by cutting the welfare benefits to certain people. All the stuff we've heard about over the last few months, you know, prove that you're not able to work, prove that you're, you know, not somebody who's taking advantage of the system. So let's give her some credit. She's going to abolish stamp duty. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is it, as so many people are saying, the only thing that she's announced that's different from anybody else? Or is it a positive step forward for Kemi Badenoch and the Tories? 0344 499 1000. She then, having refused to answer questions about Nigel Farage on a Sky interview last night, was watching Beth Rigby. She asked her about 10 times, is Nigel Farage a formidable politician? She wouldn't talk about him. She wouldn't talk about Starmer. She then decided at conference, once she appeared to attack Nigel Farage, just think pigs. Have a listen, have a watch.
But we can't beat them simply by attacking them. As George Bernard Shaw said, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. We have to offer something better.
Maybe you do if you wrestle with a pig. I've no idea whether you get dirty if you wrestle with a pig. What do you make of this? She warned that the Tories had to fight clever. That's what she's saying. I suspect she thinks that Starmer and Farage are, you know, squealing around in the mud, throwing barbs at each other. I don't know. I would like to do something on Drive Time that perhaps is different to any other show. We're going to offer a box of chocolates if you can prove that you have. Has anybody out there wrestled with a pig? Have you wrestled with a pig? If you have, 0344 4 how are you going to prove that you wrestled with a pig? I went to a show once and somebody said, has anybody seen a goat? Never mind, I'll do it again. 0344 499 1000, have you wrestled? What does that mean, wrestling with a pig? I have no idea. Everybody's laughing. I have no idea. Listen, let's give a little bit of credit. Let's ask you what you think. Have you changed your mind about bad or not because you're going to abolish stamp duty? Fully costed, apparently. Get more people off the welfare benefit system. Save the money through that, you know. And basically... dragging it into the farmyard. I'm not going to fight with Nigel or Sakir because pigs like to fight and I'm not interested in getting dirty. The other story today, which I thought was really, really interesting, quite contentious. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, said he won't shy away from talking about issues of integration that matter in this country. He was overheard in March, and The Guardian decided to print this just yesterday, saying he'd been in Handsworth in Birmingham, an area of Birmingham I know very well, and he'd been there for an hour and a half and had only seen one other white face. Now, people have jumped on the bandwagon and said this is ultimately racist. The Bishop of Birmingham, the Right Reverend Michael Volland, branded Jenrick's comments about the area of Handsworth entirely wrong and said he had been dismayed and disappointed to hear them. I would say this to the Right Honourable Reverend Michael Volland. If you'd listened to the entire sentence, he talked before and after that line that was cut out about integration. I am the least racist person in the world, hand on heart. But here's the thing. In Handsworth, 9% of the population is white and 91% is black. Pointing that out, is that racist? I don't think it's racist at all. And while we're talking about this, Lenny Henry. Lenny Henry, to many of you, a brilliant comedian from Dudley, to others, the voice and face of Travelodge. He says that Britain should pay reparations for slavery to all black British people. The comedian actor said in a new book that an £18 million or 18 trillion financial resolution was the only way for the UK to address racism. This isn't just the big payback for Caribbean islands. This is that the slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all black people have to suffer from. So, in this mad world, on a Wednesday, Cammy Bednott wants to abolish stamp duty and says if you support Nigel Farage and Keir Starmer, you like pigs fighting in the mud. Robert Jenrick pointed out that there are a few white-faced people in Handsworth and has been called a racist, and Lenny Henry thinks that if you're black, you should be receiving thousands of pounds from the rest of us who are skint, because apparently we're all racist. Welcome to Talk Drive, 0344 499 1000. Now, I am delighted to get my first guest on, a man of supreme intelligence and style and great diction, and he makes me feel as hideously useless as I am. Rafe Heidel-Manku, a very good afternoon. Political commentator, broadcaster, historian. In fact, if this is your life on you, Eamon Andrews would have gone, a right clever dick if ever there was one. Rafe, how are you, sir? Are you all right?
Always a pleasure to be on with you, Jeremy. Bring a smile to my face.
Thank you, my friend. Cammy Bednott, let's get serious. Stamp duty, the abolishment of it. She says that these plans have been fully costed after her shadow cabinet created a £47 billion savings package, almost half of which would come from welfare reforms. 14 years, they didn't do anything about the welfare system. Is this, in its entirety, enough to turn the British public, Rafe?
No, but it's very clear what the agenda here, what the plan is for the Tory party. They know that they've betrayed the nation on immigration. They've lost that platform entirely to the Reform Party. You know, every time Robert Jenrick does one of his very slick, very excellent videos on the dire state of modern Britain, it probably boosts Reform's numbers, actually, because it just reminds people that the mess we're in is largely the Tories' creation. So they know that the economy is the only field in which they could possibly get a route to securing more seats. I don't think even they think they can win power. This is more about retaining what they have and building on it. And that's because the Tories are still the most trusted party on the economy compared to their opponents. But too much is made of that too, I think, because actually if you look at the polls, they are pretty much neck and neck with Labour and Reform, even on the economy, although they are slightly ahead. Now, many people thought that the whole Liz Truss debacle during her tenure would have permanently dented the Tories' reputation on the economy. It doesn't seem to have. Most people aren't that engaged in politics, and for a lot of people, they either don't remember the Liz Truss years, they were too short, or they regarded it as an aberration. And
the Liz Truss years or the Liz Truss days, right?
The Liz Truss day, yes. We all remember that lettuce all too well.
Yeah.
And actually, if you look at the UK gilt yields now, they're currently higher under Rachel Reeves than they were during Liz Truss's mini budget. And so, yes, I think this was actually quite an impressive speech by Kemi Badenoch, demonstrating her fiscal fortitude. Cutting student numbers would save £3 billion, wanting to create apprenticeships rather than having people go in for these ridiculous Mickey Mouse university degrees. Great ideas to cut the benefits for restricting it to British citizens only. I've been calling on that for years. Citizenship should bring benefits, quite literally, benefits themselves. Also, of course, doing other things like stopping people who are suffering from anxiety in a very mild way from getting benefits. Did you know that there are more people under 25 taking sick days at work than over 50?
Yeah, of course I do, because the trauma of working to many 25-year-olds is so big. Can I put this to you? And as I say, you'd know the detail more than me, but what struck me listening to this was, yes, I agree with you, accomplished. I've just felt strongly, very strongly for a year that, and I'm not saying that a lot of people wouldn't be interested in the detail, but optics in politics are everything. And it is absolutely right, Rafe, to say that because of the time she's taken to work out where they went wrong, it's simple, you didn't do what you said you were going to do, while she's been working on these fully costed plans, it's almost like everybody's disappeared into the distance. And I'm wondering how, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe Middle England will look at this and go, great, I've no idea. I mean, I would like to put the caveat on that if the property industry works it out really properly, they'll just increase the price of houses, because they'll go, oh, we'll say estate agents and property dealers, we won't be making any money or as much as we would have done. So there's always that. But is it too little too late in your mind? Has she called it wrong in terms of the speed with which she's introduced these ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. I mean, perhaps she didn't expect reform to rise as rapidly as it did, but she left the playing field completely open to the Reform Party. And I'm sorry, as interesting and as good as some of these policies sound, some of us, even myself, have been calling for a lot of these sorts of things for years. I don't have a team of policy advisors around me. It was just me sitting down on my own, and I've, created many of the policies that she's espoused, that the Reform Party espouses. I don't see why you need to take so long to come up with what are essentially quite simple policies. They're not that complicated in the finer detail even. And so why it's taken so long? I think the problem we have right now is in Keir Starmer and in Kemi Badenoch, we have two leaders who lack political instinct. They don't have the acumen for it all. They're much more procedural, they're too cautious, and they don't seem to have the knack that, say, Nigel Farage has.
And it's very interesting. And Mick in Wallington regularly texts this show. I think this is interesting, Agnes. He says, Jez, wasn't it interesting to watch the blood literally drain out of Jenrick and Cleverly's forced smiling faces as Badenoch delivered policy blow after policy blow, and they suddenly realised that actually this woman might be here to stay. What would you say to that, Rafe?
Yeah, well, Robert Jenrick's face was a picture. Now, of course, a lot of people think that he's the only person who could actually possibly outflank reform. Unfortunately, the reality is, if you look at the latest polling, Jenrick is one of the Tory MPs forecast to lose his seat.
I would respectfully suggest that the problem that Jenrick's got is they didn't elect him in the first place. And if they turn to him now, they will say it's a carbon copy, second-rate version of Nigel Farage 15 months too late. That's entirely what the electorate will say, won't they?
Yeah, but it also says that even if you are extremely sound on things like immigration, it doesn't matter if you belong to the wrong party, because people are voting for reform. They don't trust the Tories. Einstein said the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. Well, I'm sorry, we've given the Tory party every chance under the sun. In every manifesto, they promised to bring down immigration either to the tens of thousands or to lower it dramatically. They betrayed the nation on all of that. They betrayed the nation on Brexit, reinterpreting what take back control means. So I'm sorry, they're either going to go into destruction or they're going to face a very long winter in the wilderness.
Very interesting. Then she launched into, extraordinary. She launched into saying, never wrestle with a pig. She warned that the Tories, they had to fight clever against Nigel Farage and other opponents. As she warned, as I say, never wrestle with a pig. The Conservative leader said her party had to offer a better alternative to reform in the Labour Party rather than simply attacking them on their own turf. She said, I want to avoid the cynical policies put forward by others, and I'm ready to steer the country through its darkest days, and we can do this again. I've had quite a response whilst you gather your thoughts. Paul from Birmingham, why do I get most response on things like pigs? Pigs are actually quite clean. They like getting down and dirty, but will never urinate or doo-doo where they lie and sleep. Thank you so much indeed for sharing that with me. And I asked, has anybody out there actually ever wrestled with a pig? Steve, 2 points if I may. Goats are the cleanest animals on a farm and a pig is the most hygienic. Graham Pack says, does wrestling with a pig include wrestling with a police officer? No, we can't have that. Richie in Grimsby says, I've never wrestled with a pig, but I've had a beer with one in Tasmania. And Dan in Hartlepool goes even further. He's going to be divorced by the end of the night. He said, I wrestle with a pig every night in bed, and it's an absolute nightmare. So there you go. Wrestling with a pig, Rafe, what do you reckon?
Well, what Churchill said, cats look down on you, dogs look up to you, but a pig looks you in the face as an equal. Look, leaders turn to, these sort of ad hominem degrading. Whenever they do that, that's a sign of desperation. You may have heard of the expression, I would say to Kemi, the cow jumped over the moon. Well, that's pretty much the same chance as she has of becoming Prime Minister, I think.
I don't think she has much chance, do you? But, I try and balance it and give credit where... Oh, hold on a second. Carl's got a voice note, Rafe. You'll love this. Carl, go.
To be fair, I like Kemi. I think she's a decent woman. I think she's clever. And I think she's a proper Conservative. The problem is, they let us down. I was a Conservative for 30 years, felt betrayed, and never again, because whatever she tries to push through, the Liberals in the party will stop it. And it's a shame, because I think she's a good girl, really, who's took over a very hard job.
And I think that probably sums it up, don't you, Rafe?
Yeah, to a degree, although I don't think she is the right person for the job. This is not her moment. I don't actually think she's skilled enough to be a leader. She's consistently fails to impress during Prime Minister's questions.
Reads her notes.
Sticks to her script. I wasn't a great fan of David Cameron, but my God, he was great at PMQs. He really shone in those occasions. We haven't had anyone really since David Cameron who was able to command the floor and those things. Look, the day before this, yesterday, I think, the day before, 20 Tory councillors fled to the Reform Party. Absolutely. This is the desperation that you're seeing now when you hear these sorts of expressions. There's another thing here too. Yes, the Tories may be more trusted on the economy, but she's trying to lump in Nigel Farage and Reform with Jeremy Corbyn and with Keir Starmer and Ed Davies, saying they're all shaking the magic money tree. Actually, Reform Party is much closer to the British public on the economy than the Tories are. The British public as a whole, they lean to the right on socially conservative issues, things like immigration, but they actually lean slightly centre-left on things like the economy. And the Reform Party has actually finally understood that. I think they may have been seen as being too Thatcherite in the past, and they've now realised that the public do believe in the importance of having some sort of social safety net and so forth. The Reform Party don't like to be thought of as being people who want to privatise the NHS, so they're trying to show the public that actually they are concerned about the voters. Because remember, a lot of their voters are people who are often dependent at some point in their life on social safety nets.
The other two things that are going to cause my audience, bless them, all 11 of them, to ring this show on 0344 499 1000. Generic standing firm on comments he made about Handsworth, picked up by The Guardian. He said in March, I've been in Handsworth in Birmingham an hour and a half and I've only seen one other white face. They didn't talk about... They left out the bit at the beginning and the end of that whole long quote, which is about interaction, integration. The facts remain, Rafe. 9% of Handsworth is white, 91% is black. It's not a racist comment to make that. And on the back of that, Sir Lenny Henry, I think the Ozempic's got to his brain. He thinks that not only should we pay £18 trillion in fines and payback for apparently the slavery trade was all of our faults, but we should... slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all black people suffer from, so we should be paying every single black person in this country reparations from tomorrow. I'll leave it to you, you to sum up Lenny Henry and Robert Jenrick?
Well, thank you very much. Two big topics. Well, as I said on Plank of the Week when we both appeared on it last week, that's the funniest thing Lenny Henry said since 1983. It's absolutely ridiculous. 19 trillion is larger than the entire GDP of China. Look, why should British taxpayers pay reparations when out of a population of millions, there were only a few thousand slave owners? The vast majority of this country descend from people who lived lives of abject poverty akin to serfdom. And, there are living in this country lots of black people who actually descend from slave owners themselves. Remember, there were more slaves held as slaves in Africa by other Africans than were ever transported to the Caribbean. So why would we be paying the actual descendants of slave owners? It's absolutely absurd. Britain was the only country, the first power in the world, to deliberately make itself poorer to advance a moral good. We led the world in abolishing slave trade. Slavery was universal. What was unique is that Britain paid a sum equivalent to £20 billion to free the slaves. It then spent a sum equivalent to 2.5% of GDP, our modern defence budget, on the West Africa Squadron, which sailed the seas to enforce an end to the slave trade and actually went into Africa to force Africans to stop slavery. We've more than paid our dues. We don't owe a single penny in reparations. On Jenrick is absolutely right. There are parts of England where we've had stories over the last 10, 15 years, where there are pupils in primary schools who think that Britain is predominantly an Asian country because that's all they see. We know that Muslims who live in segregated communities are about twice as likely to say that they have sympathy for terrorist attacks. Ed Hussein wrote a book called Among the Mosques, where he spoke about literal no-go zones where white men are not welcome to come into those areas. We know that the police in this country often have to ask community leaders for permission to enter some of these ethnic silos. This country is fast becoming not a United Kingdom, but a United Nations. We have areas of this country who are essentially becoming Muslim settlements. They're being settled by Muslim clans who all come from the same regions of, say, northern Pakistan, and they're trying to import here their own politics with their own Sharia courts and their own territorial ways. They have their own satellite TV channels. They don't watch any British content. They live parallel lives, completely separate from the rest of the country. We know that Muslim women have terrible rates of knowing the English language. We can't have that society. We may be a multiracial society, but we're not an integrated society. That's what Jennifer is pointing out. And it's about time more of us were able to speak about these things openly rather than being accused racist, when surely it's in the interest of everybody that we have a society that works together, because all of the sociological evidence and the economic evidence shows that the increased segregation you have in the community, the lower the social trust is. And the more communities deteriorate, the more neighborhoods deteriorate, the higher the crime rates go. It's bad for everybody.
Couldn't agree with you more, mate. My God, you are a font, aren't you? Rafe Heidel-Manku. Also, the new Culture Forum. He's a fellow at that. Check it out. It's fantastic. Rafe, it's great to have you on, my friend. We'll see you very soon. Thank you. 4:25. Live across the UK. What do you make of what Rafe said? Is he right about Lenny Henry? Is he right about Robert Jenrick? What do you make of Kemi Badenoch? Basically, she's going to abolish stamp duty. Hurrah! You can buy a house without that money. She says that dealing with Farage and Starmer is like wrestling with a pig. I asked Jeremy, as an ex-pig farmer, yes, I have many times, says Michael in Suffolk, you dirty man. Back in 3.
matter to me, the colour of the people on the street. What matters is whether we have communities that are integrated and living alongside each other and sharing the same culture. There is ample evidence, numerous government reports, numerous reports by think tanks that have shown that actually we are not an integrated society. We have effectively ghettos of people from different faith and religion, faith and ethnic backgrounds living separate parallel lives.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You lot are up and at it already, 4:28. Through 0344 499 1000. Derek, we ended the slave trade. We lost 1 in 9 of our navy fighting the slavers. Get off my bleeding back. Bill says Conservatives had 14 years judge in charge. They failed, but they couldn't repay the public for their mistakes by swallowing their pride. And everybody votes for reform and destroys the Labour Party. Reform are the new Conservatives. They are done. Bob in Sudbury, this is reacting to the fact that Cammy Badenoch said that she's not going to get involved with Starmer and Farage. It's like wrestling with a pig. He says you shouldn't wrestle with a pig as it will definitely squeal on you. Brilliant. Lenny Henry has a book to sell, says Mick. He thinks that everybody who's black should be given reparations. Peter Northampton said, I had to wrestle with a pig a few years ago in Blackpool. I can remember that there was some ointment involved. That's not even funny, is it? Honestly. Lee in Birmingham, what's he after? Great to have Jodie back, the true star of the show. It hasn't been the same without her. Oi, oi! Voice note Niall on the Tory party conference. Go.
I think with the Conservative conference happening, I think what Labour and Conservatives haven't quite grasped yet is the British public are actually willing to take a punt on Nigel Farage, because Labour and Tories have lied to us for so long that it doesn't really matter what they say anymore. The public just don't care and they want Farage in.
Do you agree with Stuart? 0344 419 1000. Quickly, a call. Dartford. No, that wasn't Stuart, that was Niall. This is Stuart in Dartford. 1 minute, go. Oh, God. Stuart!
Hello, can you hear me?
Slight satellite delay to your brain. Time is money. You're on. Go.
I have evidence of wrestling a pig. James in my team was driving down the A14. There was a pig in the road. The pig nearly caused a crash with a caravan. James leapt out, wrestled the pig to the ground. We discovered at that point that wrestling a pig is quite hard, but it is very dirty. So Cammy is right on that it is dirty. We also discovered that having wrestled a pig to the ground, it is very hard to find what to do with that pig. We tried calling the police, and the police were not keen to turn up to take a...
Slippery buggers, aren't they, pigs? Slippery buggers. Slippery buggers, pigs, aren't they?
They are indeed slippery buggers. And they're also quite big. But we did manage to get hold of a vet who managed to get hold of a farmer. A farmer turned up and took away the pig. At no point did we ask whether the pig was a Labour pig or any other political affiliation.
Call of the day.
But it was written up in our company magazine as the best reason for being late for a meeting was wrestling a pig.
I love that story. You've won the award. The chocolates are on their way to Dartford. Stuart, thank you very much indeed. It's 4:30. We'll say a very good afternoon. Love having this lady on Talks, international editor. Isabel Oakeshott, good afternoon. How are you?
Honestly, I can't believe we're talking about pigs. I mean, me of all people to talk about pigs with the Tories' history of pigs and me, it's not a good one. I don't know whether you know what I'm talking about, but...
I don't know, but I want to... You can tell me in a sec. I want to play this clip again for people who think I'm making this up. A woman who is standing to be the Prime Minister of this country said today, we have to fight clever against Farage and other opponents. Never wrestle with a pig. This is Cammy Badenoch from earlier, peeps.
But we can't beat them simply by attacking them. As George Bernard Shaw said, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. We have to offer something better.
Isabel Oakeshott, I don't want to put you on the stand here, but do you have any experience of pig wrestling or anything like that? You made a slight comment there. I don't know what you're talking about. Please fill me in.
Well, Many years ago, I wrote an unauthorised biography of David Cameron along with Lord Ashcroft. He was the main author. And there was a notorious story in that book that went absolutely viral all around the world and caused weeks of publicity, grief for the then Prime Minister, David Cameron. And the story was, I'm not going to go into total detail.
Oh, please do. Something's got to get me through today.
It became known as Piggate, and it related to the suggestion that David Cameron, when he was at university at Oxford, had indulged in a some kind of intimate act with a dead pig.
Right, let's just stop there, because Isabel Oakeshott is one of the classiest ladies I've ever met, right? She honestly is the classiest. I just want you to say, we need to go into detail here, intimate act with a dead pig. What
are you seriously telling me that you don't remember this story?
Do I make her think I don't know? Okay, I'll make her think. No, I've no idea what you're talking about, Isabel. What did he do?
I just can't say it on this family programme.
It's not a family programme, it's Talk Drive. I'll say it for you. He put his penis into a dead pig's mouth, didn't he?
You see, 10 years on, people are still talking about that story, and I want to say poor David Cameron, he will not thank Kemi Badenoch for bringing pigs up again, because without a doubt, this is going to revive a load of pig stories relating to the Tories. And, you know, the guy has been basically dogged by this story ever since it happened. Hogged by this story.
Why did he put his penis in a dead pig's mouth? I mean, I suspect...
Allegedly.
All right, why did he allegedly put... He'll deny it. Why did he allegedly put his penis into an allegedly dead pig's alleged mouth? Why did he allegedly do that?
Oh, I don't know, Jeremy. I mean, apparently that's how they roll at Oxford, or at least they used to in the old days. And funny enough, you know, you do see, or at least not that many years ago, you used to see pigs' heads in the covered market in Oxford. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Right, I love you for talking about that, but we'll get you off the pig hook there. Kemi stamps out stamp duty. The one policy that has come through is her saying she will abolish stamp duty on primary residences to allow millions to achieve home ownership. She says that unlike Reform and other parties, her shadow cabinet has fully costed this, and it will be created by a £47 billion savings package, almost half of which, Isabel Oakeshott, would come from welfare reforms. What is your response to the stamp duty abolishment? Is it positive for Kemi Badenoch? Do you think it'll cut through?
Yeah, I do actually. It's really simple and easily understood. We all hate stamp duty, and you know, stamp duty has risen and risen and is a huge consideration when people are thinking, can they or can't they afford to move or to buy their first home. So I'm really in favour of that policy. I'm less in favour of some of the rest of what she said, and much of it was pretty predictable. But, you know, credit where credit's due. I'm not going to sit here and be so partisan that I say I don't think that's great. You know, I'd love to see the end of stamp duty, wouldn't we all?
I think the housing market will rise. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think your response is right. I think credit where credit's due. Whether it's enough, that one policy, and I'm not being cynical, we'll see when the polls come out, to move the dial. I still believe that the Tory party, and I said this yesterday, I believe that the Tory party probably knows that it has to serve its time. And I think the British public so fell out of belief in the Tories last time that it won't happen in 5 years. I think it's 10 years minimum. I think they have to go away and lick their wounds. And I don't think that she will ever be Prime Minister. I think she's, yes, probably a good politician to a degree. I don't think she's a leader. I think she's a poison chalice. I think it's like following, you know, somebody who's been successful, and I think it's a difficult one. Robert Jenrick, very quickly, I know you've got to be gone. And these two subjects, I just... Robert Jenrick said something yesterday that has attracted the hysteria of the left. He was in Handsworth, an area of Birmingham I know well. 9% white, 91% not white. That is a fact. It is not racist. He was caught on a hot mic saying, I've been in Birmingham, Handsworth for an hour and a half and I've seen one other white person. They didn't include The Guardian and all their brilliant journalism, in brackets, don't be silly, close brackets, that actually was talking about interaction and interrelationships and all that sort of thing. And it was put out there, and he's basically said, I'm not racist, I'm talking about facts, don't misquote me. Where do you stand on what Jenrick said, by the way?
What on earth is the problem? I mean, if you'd only seen one white person, you'd only seen one white person. What on earth is the problem with making that observation? I mean, quite frequently when I'm on the tube in London, I'm stunned by the lack of the so-called diversity that we're always hearing about being such a great achievement of our society. Quite often, I am the only white person in the tube carriage. So what? That's just a fact, you know. Am I not allowed to say that because that's somehow racist? No, it's just an absolute fact. And, you know, you can like it, you can not like it, but it certainly tells us something about how Britain has changed.
Completely. And before we let you go, Rafe just said to me that this is the funniest thing that Lenny Henry said since 1983. Lenny Henry says that Britain should pay reparations for slavery to all black British people. He's got a new book out, and he says that an £18 trillion financial restitution was the only way for the UK to address racism. The big payback suggests the money go to all Caribbean nations and black British citizens. He writes that all black British people need reparations for slavery. We personally deserve money for the effects of slavery. The book argues that the slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all black people suffer from. So we cannot afford the interest on the debts that we've got, and he wants to spend 18 trillion, which Rafe Heidelmann pointed out is bigger than the GDP of China. So goes where we're going to get that from. Help me out. Stick to the travel lodge, Sir Lenny, eh? Jesus, man.
I mean, is he short of a few bucks or something? I mean, for goodness sake.
I think the Ozempic's gone to his brain.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to get a headline. I mean, this is completely desperate stuff. What worries me is when people in positions of, unfortunately, of power actually talk seriously about slavery reparations. I mean, we shouldn't be remotely entertaining this. This is beyond historic. The UK led the way in the abolition of slavery absolutely yonks ago. And I think everybody's moved on. And anybody who's trying to make a living now or thinks that they're going to somehow, there's some kind of pot of gold for them out of slavery reparations, they'd be better playing the lottery.
It's so good to have you on. The alleged pig's head incident was apparently an initiation ceremony to join a privileged club at university, says Peter. And Andy in Darlington says, all this talk about pigs, I wonder if David Cameron's getting excited. Isabel,
there you go.
What have you done? Great to have you on. Thank you, my darling. 20 to 5, Isabel Oakeshott talks, international editor. This is Talk Drive.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Minutes to 5. I feel like I should get down on one knee and salute my next guest. He was once a Talk TV presenter. Now, apart from being a property expert, minted, he's managed to be elected as a reform councillor.
Why are you
Last time I
laughing?
saw him, and he was absolutely rat-arsed at the party conference,
As were you, sir.
And who got you
As
in?
were you,
Who got
sir.
you in the important party?
I did have to stand there like an 18-year-old outside.
My
Duke's
security guy came
nightclub
to me and went,
saying,
"There's a man called Quirk.
Can you ask Mr. Carl if I can come in with my friends, please?" And at least you said yes.
Yes, I did. How are you?
I'm very well.
Congratulations. So tell me, you are now a reform councillor. How long did that take?
So there was a by-election called, so the election period was about 5 weeks, so we fought for 5 weeks and we won a very, very safe Conservative seat.
What does that mean,
by
then?
a big margin.
Do you have office? What do you do? Where do you go?
I do.
As a
There's
councillor?
town hall. There's a town hall, and I go there and I have meetings and I stand up for my residents as a representative and I fight their corner, but I am the only reform councillor in Brentwood Council. So
No
there's
way.
38 others and
Do
me.
they hate you?
Already.
Already? Do
Yes,
they really?
Yeah. On day one.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
let's just say
Why-
I had a
why-
meeting on day one and I had a bit of a moan about committees. They don't want me to be on any committees. And I said, I don't think that's very democratic. So let me see the rules, can I? And they said, well, I'm not sure they're written down anywhere. I said, well, then it's not a rule, is it? So here we go.
Good man. And other political aspirations we hear?
I have.
Good. Well, we wish you the best of luck. It's great to have you on. Never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. As ever on Drive Time, it's not terribly... It doesn't really sit where the excellent Julia sits or the excellent Ian sits. It's more sort of half of what the excellent Mike does. I mean, Kemi Bain...
Can you believe she said that? Seriously.
Well, Cameron put his penis in a dead pig's mouth, allegedly. I just said allegedly. You don't need to worry. I've been doing it 30 years.
Yeah, but
he
he did-
allegedly stuck his... Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I know there's the
I
story,
didn't.
the allegation, but that he didn't actually talk about that or, have any pictures or anything.
I bet you they're going to bring it up now.
Well, yeah, but what Kemi Badenoch has done is basically, again, to reduce politics to the gutter.
Yes.
By calling on or labelling her political colleague, potentially the future Prime Minister of this country.
Political colleague?
Yeah, they're all politicians together, aren't they?
Oh, I thought you were talking about a merger.
No, but I mean, in terms of being a peer, small p, within the House of Commons, and has descended the political labelling, the talk, to that of the gutter. I think it's absolutely outrageous. And how do the public feel about this? I mean, I know she's got a cheap laugh about it.
She laughed at her own joke, which, by the way, never works.
And of course, what we also know, of course, is that, did she really write this impassioned, funny speech with all these new announcements? She didn't, did she?
I think it's quite interesting. We've got a bit of time with you. We're going to talk about, because you are a property expert, we'll talk about stamp duty in a tick. For me, she's on a sticky wicket in that I just feel like, Russ, she'll forever be playing catch-up.
Yep.
She'll always be seen as reactive rather than proactive. If Nigel Farage wasn't on the scene and this had been done 6 months ago, you go, actually, that's the stamp duty thing's a good shout.
Or ideally when they were in government, that would be nice, when they actually had the power to do it.
So there we have it.
But they only had 14 years. I think it takes perhaps longer than 14 years to
You've
actually
only been
form
a councillor for a week
policy.
and you've turned into a Saki man already, haven't you? So she announced, pledged to abolish stamp duty on primary residences to allow millions to get on the property ladder. Obviously, it's stamp duty is a tax on property purchases we pay in England, Northern Ireland. It was called stamp duty, it's called land tax. It's quite a large amount of money and causes many, many problems. She says that it should be the right of people to own their own home. She says this is fully costed. She says, and I quote, that a shadow cabinet has raised a plan to save £47 billion to pay for this. That will be done by cutting the welfare budget. Again, should have been done when they were in power. As a property expert, first up, this is a good thing, isn't it?
So it's a good thing, but it's also a gimmick. Lots and lots of property people have been calling, really, for the abolition of stamp duty for many, many years. It is an obstacle. It's an obstacle to property purchase, especially in the southeast, where property prices are higher, because obviously it's based on a threshold. So previously or currently, you only pay stamp duty over £125,000 as a threshold. It's been played around with for years. There's been stamp duty holidays. There's been a tweaking in terms of the thresholds by way now. If you buy the sort of property that would befit your status, Jeremy, up there in the millions, you pay, if it's a second home, if you're a foreign buyer and it's above £1.5 million, the rate of stamp duty is 18%. It's abhorrent, of course it is. However, This is A, something they could have done previously when in government, but B, you can tell it's just a gimmick because it's literally been plucked out of the air. It doesn't even look like it's been costed. Now, I know
she says
Kemi
says
it's coming out the 47, but how much heavy lifting is that £47 billion doing, I wonder? What about all the other announcements that we've heard and we're about to hear? The tax take from stamp duty is £15 billion a year. Even if it's only on primary purchases and not secondary, it's still going to cost £10 billion. So I'm not a fan of stamp duty. Stamp duty was actually introduced to fund a war on France, would you believe, in the 16th century.
Excellent, well done, let's keep it.
And I'm not sure, well, maybe that is going to happen, but I think we're probably not in danger of that particular occurrence anymore. Look, this is gesture politics. It's an easy, gimmicky win for Kemi Badenoch, but the other problem is, of course, yes, it encourages purchase, but do you know in 2024 there were more first-time buyers almost than ever? About 60% of all purchases in Britain were from first-time buyers. They actually don't need that much help. I mean, I'll get shot down in flames on social media for saying this now, Jez, but they don't need that much help. First-time buyers are buying.
Surely,
no,
come on.
The stats,
people,
the data
all right,
says
but
so.
people are struggling to get
the problem,
on the property
what we need to fix,
and to move.
But let me move on to the real problem. It's not demand, it's supply of new homes.
Yeah.
This government came into government saying, we're going to build 350,000 new homes. Do you know how many they built in year one of the Labour
government? Not many, but I do
160,000.
I know that the Environment Secretary said it was his #1 priority, having taken over from Orange.
And Steve Reid thinks that by saying build, baby, build, it's going to get houses built.
Then his own constituency 2 weeks ago discovered that he voted against 237 houses.
Exactly. So
when we come back, just think on this, as you are a property expert, would it not force house prices up? Would the industry not go, oh my God, we're going to miss out on this?
Well, no, not the industry, but the natural laws of supply and demand, yes, because if there's more demand and no more supply, then it's going to push prices up, which then in itself makes it more
What are you
unaffordable.
not good at? Porsche driver, reform councillor, property magnate.
Biochemistry, haven't done that yet.
Also television. Back in 3. Oh.
Things are going to unravel really fast if we can't agree that crossing a border of a sovereign country, capturing 250 people, taking them hostage, killing another 1,200, including grandmothers, women, fathers, children, that is abhorrent. and we don't stand for that. If we can't agree on like something as basic as that, because what started with a synagogue last week is a shopping centre the next week.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Talk Drive. Russell Quirk just said you've missed me. Why have you missed me?
Because you make me laugh.
Jezza, the story stamp duty.
By the way, I'm not saying whether I'm laughing at you or with you.
Thank you. I had some drink. No, I'm joking. The Tory stamp duty policy is so popular, even Angela Rayner is even voting for them. I've got breaking news that Angela Rayner has set up a new property company. It's called Wrong Move. Ba-boom! Do you like that?
I do. How very appropriate.
Liam in Warrington, that was. Graham Pack says maybe our money should be better spent on compensating the waspy women rather than this crazy Sir Lenny Henry idea of reparations. And Mark in Norfolk says, I was brought up on a pig farm, and I can assure you we had nowhere near as many porkies as Keir Starmer has at his fingertips.
Yeah, nice. But also let's not forget the postmasters that seem to have been stitched up yet again in terms of getting what's rightfully due to them.
Can I have a little rant?
I'm sure you can.
Oi, Ed Davey, you numpty. The man who had to mention Farage 32 times, the man with no policies, 72 seats, that would make anybody think you were the Minister for the Post Office, weren't you? Stop the gimmicks in your outfits and answer what needs answering to those poor people who've never, ever got what they should have got. Right, Russ?
100%.
Disgraceful. I've got some breaking news. This is appalling. Your reaction to this, my friend. The Manchester synagogue terrorist has been, we found out, has made a call to police during the attack where he pledged allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. Police have said jihad. You couldn't make that up, can you? Jihad al-Shami, 35, carried out the attack last Thursday as he tried to get inside Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Crumshaw. Can I just say I had lunch today with a really good friend of mine, Dave, who comes from a Jewish family, is Jewish, and the reality of what this has done to many in the Jewish community really was brought home to me at lunchtime. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitism is racism.
No, it is, and again, it calls into question yet again, for the goodness knows how many times, the absolute lack of ability and duty of care from the authorities, whether it's MI5, whether it's that prevent bunch of non-entities that really shouldn't exist because it doesn't seem like they prevent very much at all. How did this particular individual, given how obvious it was that he should have been on the list, how on earth did he escape attention? And that therefore allow him to do this. We've had it with Axel Rudabikana and more of these individuals that are flagging how dangerous they are and are going to be, and they slip through the cracks.
Couldn't agree with you more. The Reform Councillor for Essex, Russell Quirk. Let's go to Burton-on-Trent. Tracy, a very good afternoon. You're on Talk Drive a couple of minutes, and Russell Quirk, the councillor's with me.
Hello, Russell. I'm with you. Jeremy makes me laugh as well.
There's two of us.
All I wanted to say was that I listened to the Tories and you go, yeah, quite like that policy. That's lovely. Listen, I mean, Boris Johnson, we had a nice little thing that he signed in 2019 saying what he's going to do. The problem is Kemi Badenoch is not in control of the Conservative Party. She can say what she likes. We don't believe she's going to do it because your Tom Tugendhats and your Tobias Ellwoods in their Broad Church will vote it down, and the reason they are is because the Tories believe they are there to rule and not to serve. So at least, whether Reform can do it, I've no idea, but at least I kind of feel that Nigel is in control of the party. Kemi Badenoch isn't.
I think it's a poison chalice. I suggest if you look back to 1997 when John Major called the left of the Tory party, the pro-Europeans, wets, came back from mastering. I don't think anybody's managed to master, excuse the pun, the diversity in the problems in the Tory party. They haven't had a leader. Thatcher was massively unpopular, but she ruled with an iron fist, and the joke about Thatcher was if you disagreed with her, she sacked you, and at the end of 10 years she looked around the room of 400 people and she'd sacked them all, so they sacked her, but she did a lot.
Yeah, well, so as soon as she went, and of course we ended up with the wettest of wets, John Major, that's where it all went wrong. And then what we had,
I think him sleeping with Edwina Curry allegedly was also quite a problem.
No, but then the problem became the party lurched to the left, became a bunch of glorified Liberal Democrats, which is kind of where they are now, and branches and Conservative associations over the years have selected people like Dominic Grieve and Jeremy Hunt and Robert Buckland and so on, Rory Stewart, etc. These people that, I mean, they should have to take some kind of lie detector test, these Conservatives.
Can't ask me about that.
On the basis that...
Not getting involved.
Are you a true Conservative with a small c in order to be a Conservative with a big C?
I'm not getting involved.
Because they are not, and that's why. I mean, did you see Kemi in her first speech on Sunday? As soon as she mentioned leaving the ECHR, within minutes, Robert Buckland, Dominic Grieve and Tobias Ellwood were on the news, on all channels, saying, we don't want to leave. So she's on a hiding to nothing, and this is why the Conservative Party will never, ever change.
Let's go to the Cotswolds. Very posh there. Shirley, you've got a couple of minutes. Welcome to Talk Drive, you posh lady.
Thank you. Me and Isabel Oakeshott, we're all classy birds from this neck of the woods, Jeremy.
Yeah, classy birds. Are you allowed to say bird? Is that how you pronounce it? I mean, is that how is that the sort of pronouns you use? Bird? Is that it nowadays?
Yeah, that can be my pronoun. I don't care. Anyway, can I just say I completely agree with the lady who's just been on. She said most of what I want to say. But we simply can't afford to even believe one policy that Kemi Badenoch's putting out, because the reason being, we are living through torture at the moment, having to go 5 years without being able to get rid of this Labour government. And we can't afford to do that again. There are too many Remainers and Wets still in the Tory party, and until they're got rid of, we need a very, very strong leader to get us through the next few years, and she's not it.
It's really interesting, actually. I've only got a minute. That's the point. I think you put it brilliantly, Shay. The thing is, Russell, I said it earlier, I think it's 10 years in the wilderness. I don't think the British people are going to forget that quickly. Do you, to sum up?
Yeah, and I think they deserve to be in the wilderness. Don't forget, as has been well trotted out, they've been in power for 14 years. They had the opportunity to change. They selected arguably the wrong leader, and that's probably the fault of the Conservative leadership rules, in terms of the fact that the membership only end up with a choice of 2 people. So, yeah, they deserve to be in the wilderness. They had a chance to change, and it's very, very easy for them now, effectively, to copy the Reform manifesto from last year and to make it look as though it's authentic policy. It's not. We don't believe them.
He is a councillor for Reform. We started our interview talking about pigs, and he finished it with the line, that's what they trot out, and he didn't even realise what he's saying. The amazingly, brilliantly average Russell Quirk. I'm joking, he's a legend. News at 5 is next on Tour Drive.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've just realised that on my sheet of paper it says Tuesday the 7th of October. It's Wednesday the 8th. Brilliant. We were just talking about this. At the end of conference season, all the journalists go back to their houses and go, oh, I don't ever want to go to a party conference again. So listen, it's down to you today, my friends. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in. What can I tell you? Kemi Badenoch, she stood up today and she said, and I quote, I am abolishing stamp duty, which is a very positive message because for many who are trying to get on the housing ladder, it's a difficult amount of money to pay. She says we're going to abolish it. She says it's fully costed by my shadow cabinet. I'm going to save £47 billion, and I'm going to do that by cutting the welfare reform budget. Brilliant! But why didn't you do it whilst you're in power? Here's our Kemi earlier.
Stamp duty is a bad tax. It is an unconservative tax. The last Conservative government cut stamp duty for thousands of home buyers. But now we must go further. We must free up our housing market because a society where no one can afford to buy or move is a society where social mobility is dead. I have looked at the rates you have to pay to see if we can lower them. I have decided that we can't, because that simply wouldn't be enough. Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
Biggest cheer of the day, but will she ever get the chance to actually do that? She then decided, in many people's minds, to do what was unadvisable, to then attack Nigel Farage and Keir Starmer and rather lower herself, I was going to say, into the gutter. Others would say into the pigsty. Have a listen.
But we can't beat them simply by attacking them. As George Bernard Shaw said, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. We have to offer something better.
0344 499 1000. Mark, what do you make of the Tories? Go.
The thing for the Tories and me is that, and the same with the Labour Party really, they keep on saying about this broad church. I don't want the party to be a broad church. I want it to be a party where everyone sings from the same song sheet, that's on that journey, to take me along on that journey to the same place that I want to go. And I don't want anyone at the back going, I don't want to go this way, I want to go another way. I don't trust the Tories. They've got too many wets and liberals in them. When the Reform Party say, we're going to do this, I believe them. I actually believe they want to do what they say. And I'm afraid the other two parties, I just don't believe them.
Mark makes a point that many disaffected Tories have made to us on this station, the home of free speech and common sense over the last few months and years, that they've just lost trust in the Tories. And many people already contacted me today saying, look, maybe the stamp duty thing's a good thing. Maybe she isn't super-duper leader material, but that's a good policy. But the truth is, you're just going to have to suffer for 10 years because we don't believe a bloody word you say. The ex-Tory party chairman joins me next. He actually defected to Reform because he didn't believe a word they were saying either. So, Jake Berry, a very good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, Jeremy. How are you?
Well, I'm all right. I mean, you weren't there today. I got into trouble yesterday. I interviewed a Tory from the Tory party conference and I asked if they'd all gone on the same minibus because to me it looked not the most popular thing. And anyway, let's cut to the chase because you like a laugh. Let's be honest, the stamp duty announcement was probably the one shining light. It is a horrible tax and by getting rid of it, it will allow millions to get on the property ladder. She says it's fully costed. She says that £47 billion will be raised to pay for it by cutting, well, almost half of that will come from welfare reform. Most people contacting me, Sir Jake, are saying one thing. Why the bloody hell wasn't this done when you were in power last time? Why now? It's too reactive and not proactive. I don't know what you think.
What I think, Jeremy, is it is a good announcement. And the only announcement I've heard, I think, that was probably better than it was George Osborne saying in 2007 that the next Conservative government would abolish inheritance tax. And guess what? 14, 15 years later, in fact, longer, inheritance tax is still in place. And that's the problem, I think, that Kemi has, is no one believes her. We know that the Conservative Party will get back in government, and they'll say, well, now we've seen the books. Of course, we'd love to do this. Now isn't the right time. We are still almost 20 years later, 18 years later, waiting for that promised abolition of inheritance tax by George Osborne. At 14 years in power, there was never a right time to do it.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm not having a go, but you must have fought elections on that promise, and you were the chairman of the party, so it would be right for me as a broadcaster to say to you, why didn't you and your cabinet colleagues insist that inheritance tax was abolished?
Well, Jeremy, that's why I ended up leaving the Conservative Party, because I did. No one listened. People say things, well, you've got to listen to the markets, and we absolutely do have to listen to the markets, and that's why you can only do things like this if you're prepared to make credible welfare cuts, which the Conservative Party wasn't prepared to do. So I'm sorry, look, I was there for a long time. If I don't believe them, and I'm sorry to say, because I actually think it's a good policy, I just don't think it would ever happen. And I also recall when I was in government campaigning against Rishi Sunak putting up national insurance, campaigning against that tax rise. I wasn't in government at the time, I was a backbench MP. Every single person, I believe, in Kemi's cabinet, shadow cabinet now, voted for taxes to go up. The Conservative Party, and I used to say this openly, it claims to be the party of low tax, but it's the government of the highest tax in history. In fact, it's now the government of the second highest tax.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Rachel Reeves has put it up. So I think the challenge for Kemi Badenoch is she hasn't filled that credibility gap. Is she? He had 14 years to do it, and it just wasn't done.
She went from that to this extraordinary George Bernard Shaw, and she likened Farage and others to sort of pigs, and said, you should never wrestle with a pig because it gets dirty. You both get dirty and it enjoys it. And people are going, well, who did she mean? Farage doesn't matter. Others are saying, yeah, good on you. Others are saying you're just dropping into the gutter. Let's talk more generally. And I've nothing against the woman. I don't know the woman. I feel that the Tories so lost the ear of the British public, Jake, and I said this yesterday, that they have to serve their time. It's like their penance. I don't see them getting back for 10 years. I feel like they need to be cleansed and start again. And I don't believe this woman has a cat in hell's chance of being the next Prime Minister. I don't think she'll be the Tory leader within 12 months. And that's not me being disrespectful to her, because the Tory party, in my mind, will do what it always does and go back to somebody like James Cleverly. He'll sit on the fence and try and placate the left and placate the right, and he'll wait for Reform or whoever it is to mess it up and believe that they will come back to power. But for me, I think the British public have stopped listening to the Tories, and I don't think today's one announcement makes a shred of difference, my friend, but I could be wrong.
Well, Jeremy, it's always a better show when I disagree with you, but I can't disagree with one word you've said, so we're going to be in wild agreement. Look, the challenge is, no matter what she and the Conservatives say, no one believes them. I don't believe them. That's why I left the party. And what this country needs is real change. That isn't being delivered by the Labour Party. There is only one party, one leader, Nigel Farage, who is tough enough to stand up and deliver real change. And the public have realised that. You can look at all the opinion polls, you can look at by-election results, you can look at people leaving all political parties, including the Labour Party, and joining Reform, is because they know that Nigel Farage believes what he says. Yeah. They know that he will do what he says. And they don't have to guess with Kemi Badenoch and the Conservatives. They have evidence. They have seen it with their own eyes that they do not deliver on promises. They also have evidence with the Labour Party. They were going to cut our energy bills. They've gone up by 400 quid. They were going to not increase taxes. Well, if anyone who looks at their payslip will see that it's a record amount being taken away from us. And so, that's how the political system has changed in this country. The uniparty, the two parties, you can't really put a cigarette paper between the Conservatives and the Labour Party.
Do you know what, Jackie? I completely agree with that. I was talking to somebody today. You looked at the Tory party went left, the Labour Party to get elected went right. And I've said this before, and I make no apologies for it. If you've heard it, I'm sorry, you can switch your brain off for 30 seconds. But it all came to be for me in the last election when a Reform candidate was talking about low taxation, strong military, more GDP on defence and more police on the streets to get intel, to arrest people, a judicial system that dealt with prisoners and got rid of foreign criminals. And it was one of your colleagues at the time, and I don't know who it was because I wouldn't be that disrespectful, but he came on television and he went, that's far right. And I went, no, and I literally looked at the television out loud and went, no, mate, it's not. It's what I and millions of Tories voted for years. You've just lost cast my vote, you pilot, because you don't know. You just misjudged it. And that's where I think she might be a nice, decent woman. I don't know. I want to bring you on to Jenrick, actually, because I sort of want, before I talk about his comment, here's a question for you. If they pick Robert Jenrick, who is, I guess, nearer to Nigel Farage, nearer to that sort of politics, would we be in a different position right now? Because if they turn to him, it would be too little too late, right?
No, I think we would be in a different position. I think Nigel Farage would be further ahead in the polls than he is now. And the reason is if you listen to Robert Jenrick, everything he says, we need to deport people who are from foreign criminals, we need to leave the ECHR, we need to do this. You know, he says it. I don't think he really believes it because he had 14 years to do it. I'm actually one of the few Conservative MPs, while still elected, while serving as a minister, said we have to leave the ECHR. I said it publicly. I said it.
And I will also stick up for you, not just, I will stick up for you because there will be people who will text me and go, oh, Sir Jake Berry, I will tell you all, just so you know, this man resigned from the cabinet because of his beliefs. And that is an absolute fact about Sir Jake Berry, 1,000,000%. He told Rishi Sunak to shove it where the pig, no, don't start me on that, where the sun don't shine.
I almost forget Rishi Sunak was ever Prime Minister, actually, which makes me much happier as an individual and probably most people in Britain as well. But the thing is, so why would you vote for, you know, half of Farage when you can have the whole Farage? If you know, why would you have?
He was right about Handsworth. He should be defended, though, should he not, Robert Jenrick, about his comments about Handsworth in Birmingham. He said, and I quote, it was cut by The Guardian. It was typical journalism. He was talking about, you know, interrelations and all that, and they went, I've only seen one white face in an hour and a half. The fact of the matter is, and we have these figures, 9% of Handsworth in Birmingham, it's a great area, been there, worked in Birmingham for years, is white, and 91% is not. That's a fact. So why is he called a racist to be talking about facts?
So I actually, I'm not going to defend him on these comments. I on a personal level, I actually like Rob Jenrick. He's a decent bloke. But when you hear Nigel Farage talking about immigration in this country, it's never about race. It's about British culture and who's contributing to British society. If you go to the Reform Conference or look at any of the Reform members, there are lots of people who are Asian heritage. There are lots of black members of Reform parties. They understand this is inherently not racist. It's about Britain and who's contributing to our society. And I think people who aren't true believers, dare I say it, people who are maybe saying what they think the public want to hear, don't always get that. And I think they are very clumsy comments by Rob Jenrick, unusual because he's normally very good. But I think they do speak to the fact that actually he doesn't really understand what this is all about. He's saying what he thinks the public want him to say. But the truth is, the public do not care about the colour of your skin. We are not a racist country. What they care about are undocumented migrants being plonked in the middle of their community, mainly men, people changing British culture. And if you speak to someone whose parents came from Pakistan in the 1950s or 60s to Britain, and you ask them what the challenges face in Britain, they will say exactly the same thing as someone who lives next door to them and family may have been here for generations. What Nigel Farage is defending is Britishness. What Rob Jenrick seems to be talking about is race. I don't care on people's race, people's background. I want people who want to positively contribute to Britain. And that's what Reform's campaigning to change. And Rob Jenrick just doesn't really get that.
I have to say, mate, that's probably the greatest summing up I've heard today on that. Fair play to you. Now I'll let you off the leash here. So Lenny Henry, Rafe Michael said earlier that this is the funniest thing he said since 1983, should pay reparations for slavery to all black people. He's got a new book out. What's it called? The Big Payback. He's calling for an 18 trillion... That's more than China's GDP. Financial restitution was the only way for Britain to address racism. He said, we personally deserve money for the effects of slavery. The book argues that the slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all people who are black suffer from, and they should be given reparations. In a very balanced... Go on, Sir Jake Berry. What do you make of Lenny Henry?
Lenny Henry has achieved what we all talk. I hadn't really thought about Lenny Henry for a very long time. I think he's actually a very funny guy. He's achieved what.
But you've only ever seen him doing a Travelodge advert. He's done less than me.
All good bookshops. But actually, what I also think there's a serious point about this is we've had a school system in our country for the last 20 years who've told us that we should be ashamed of British history. We should not. Britain spent, equivalent today, billions of pounds abolishing slavery, men serving in the British Royal Navy. We lost hundreds, if not thousands of lives going out there and fighting against slavery. We're the first country in the world to abolish it. That Britain and her history has had a hugely positive impact on the world. Not all of it is positive, but in the round, it's hugely positive. We should be really proud of that. And I just make one final point about slavery reparations. There are 2 countries in Africa that weren't subject in their entirety to colonization, and that is Liberia and Ethiopia. They are the 2 countries in Africa that have the lowest GDP per capita. So this idea, whether it is the Italians, the Germans, the Brits, or I think even the Welsh had some colonies, but not in Africa, they have one. This idea that Britain or any other countries around the world, colonizing countries and then, in the independence era, leaving the infrastructure they built in place, giving them, the legal structure that they have, is wholly negative for those countries. I'm sorry, is just for the birds.
I must say, you're on fire today. Right, you've got to face the Jeremy Kyle 4-question test. Are you all right with this?
Yeah, okay.
Will Kemi Badenoch lead the Tory party at the next general election?
Kemi Badenoch will not be leading the Conservative Party next year, let alone in the next general election.
Will 5, 4, 3... will Sir Keir Starmer lead the Labour government into the next election?
Harder, because you can't get rid of a Labour leader unless he wants to go, but I think he's a dead man walking.
Will Nigel Farage walk into number 10 in 3 years, 9 months, 3 days, 18 hours, 16 minutes and 43 seconds' time?
Well, here's hoping, isn't it? It's not up to me, it's up to the great British public, but I really hope he does, because I genuinely believe it is Britain's last chance to get on the right track.
Couldn't agree more. And will Sir Jake Berry, former Conservative Party chairman who defected to Reform, will he be standing as an MP in the next general election? Watch his face, because he's going to ask me the same question.
You're one step ahead of me. Look, I'll give you the absolute answer that I have to give my wife when she asks me. I say I generally haven't made my mind up. It's the greatest privilege of your life to be a member of Parliament. But I think people have to know why they want to do it. And, I do think there is something really exciting happening with Reform and Nigel Farage. And I hope maybe both of us will get the opportunity to serve our nation in some way after the next election.
All I said to Harry Cole was, you might think that I couldn't possibly comment. It was in the Daily Telegraph the next day. They're insatiable.
Jeremy, I mean, I would have thought, not every parliamentarian gets elected to the House of Commons. I think Lord Kyle... I don't know where it'd be off. Maybe Lord Kyle of or wherever you live.
Jodie, are you listening to this, Jodie? Lord Kyle of News Corps. Lord Kyle of London Bridge. You're a legend, mate.
Brilliant,
It's great to have you on. Really, really great to have you on, Jake. We must do it regularly. So, Jake Berry, former Tory Party chairman. We got 2 or 1 voice note? Both. We're going to go to the news with a couple. Not the news. We're going to an ad break with a couple of voice notes. Sam, what do you make of the Tories?
For the Conservatives and the Labour, well, Labour speaks for itself. That's just a no-go. Conservatives, voted for them many times over the years. However, everyone's right. No one trusts them anymore. I think the trust is gone. They're probably out of power for 14 years to pay for the 14 years that they failed. Probably going to be Reform for me. OK, they might not be the answer. However, the other 2, the red and blue, they've just lost trust with everyone, I think.
Do you know, in all the voice notes and all the calls already, in an hour and 21 minutes, I haven't had one person say that Kemi Badenoch's abolishing of stamp duty changes their mind. Ian, on Labour and the Tories, go.
There's a huge difference. Farage believes in what he says, and the reason you can tell that is because he can speak without notes, without a lectern, because it comes from the heart, and he doesn't actually worry about crossing himself, if you like, or getting his facts wrong or anything like that, because he believes what he says. Starmer and Badenoch, they use teleprompters and all this stuff because they don't actually believe in what they're saying. So that's the huge difference. And until we get conviction politicians in Labour or Conservatives, then I think the public will always be concerned that they are once again lying and taking us down a path that they don't sell us in their manifesto.
things are going to unravel really fast if we can't agree that crossing a border of a sovereign country, capturing 250 people, taking them hostage, killing another 1,200, including grandmothers, women, fathers, children, that is abhorrent. Right. And we don't stand for that. If we can't agree on like something as basic as that, because what started with a synagogue last week is a shopping centre the next week.
It doesn't matter to me the colour of the people on the street. What matters is whether we have communities that are integrated and living alongside each other and sharing the same culture. There is ample evidence, numerous government reports, numerous reports by think tanks that have shown that actually we are not an integrated society. We have effectively ghettos of people from different faith and religion, faith and ethnic backgrounds living separate parallel.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are, welcome back, 5:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. I'm going to abuse my position very readily right now. My lovely little duo children, Oliver and Iris, have just finished swimming, Ryan, and they're on the way home and they're listening in the car. Oliver's all embarrassed now. Do you know what he does to me in public, right? I honestly, he goes up to people and he goes, "This is Jeremy Kyle. This is really Jeremy Kyle." I'm going, "Be quiet. I hope it went well, mate. I love you. Rissy Roo. My little pumpkin." It's all going on now. 0344 499 1000. The only telephone number you need. We're live across the United Kingdom. Take your text messages, 87222. And, of course, you can get us via voice... I don't know, that voice note thingamajig. 0344 499 1000. Hello, Lord Kyle of Bushy. Yes, this is because Sir Jake Berry thought I might be made a lord. That'd be good. Here we go. Gary Neville, now Lenny Henry. Who has a book out? Pigs Might Fly. Nigel's flying in the polls. Margaret, let's not talk about pigs. The day I've had, can be better, not? Unbelievable. Jeremy, if we're being fair, Robert Jenrick resigned from his government role as an immigration minister because Sunak would not do what needed to be done on immigration. Very good point, Jane in Bicester. The only cut the Tories make that matters for the trust of the party to carry out what they say. Joanna. Why did I... Never mind. She's in Salisbury. Stopping stamp duty was done by Rishi Sunak as part of his manifesto at the general election. It's only good for buyers and sellers, keeping things moving, but it stimulates the economy because people immediately do work to their new homes. Jez says John Roberts in Germany. He could be called John Germany and Rob... I don't know. This stamp duty tax is factored in when you sell a home, Jez, so abolishing it doesn't save the buyer any money. It will just mean prices will adjust. Daz is from Carlisle. Hi, Jez. Lenny Henry wants reparations, does he? Well, so do I for watching some of the crap shows he used to put out. He's about as funny as root canal surgery. Brilliant. Well said about Ed Davey, JK. If only other media outlets had said this before the election, I can't say that word, my kids are listening. He would never have got those seats. I just think it's a bit rich of Ed Davey. I'm being serious. I know he won 72 seats. I still don't know what the Liberal Democrats stand for. I saw him in all these outfits, bungee jumping and appearing as John Travolta, and he laughs at everything, doesn't he? He was the minister in charge of the post office and the coalition government for 2 years. People lost their lives, their homes, their reputation and their personal belongings. They were shredded by possibly one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in the United Kingdom. And this man doesn't even mention that when he's bungee jumping and telling the world he's got all the answers to our problems. Somebody says, I love it when they say Nigel Farage is a snake oil salesman. It's well known that snake oil is rich in omega-3 and anti-inflammatory, and like the other parties, calling him inflammatory names. Great. Stephen Stoke. I must say, Jezza, that my only concern about reform will be about the calibre of the candidates suitable for high office, not to mention anybody with skeletons in the closet will need weeding out. Yeah, what you need people to stand in the next election who have been completely rinsed by the press and have had every part of their private life written in every newspaper there is to write. 0344 499 1000. Darren, where is he? Do we know? Not really. This is about Lenny Henry, might go.
So I've worked out this calculation of Lenny Henry, 18 billion. There are 44.5 million people in the Caribbean islands and about 500,000 in the UK. So 45 million between them. So that works out at £400,000 exactly per person. That's the worth he's putting on it. Everyone is entitled to £400,000. He's having a laugh.
It's the only laugh he's had since 1983. I'm going to have to tell you, Darren, you got it wrong. 18 trillion. It works out at 4 million per black person in the United Kingdom. Lenny Henry's new book, and I quote, The Big Payback, says, "We personally deserve money, we the black population, for the effects of slavery." The book argues that the slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all black people suffer from. The 18 trillion resolution suggested by madcap Sir Lenny Henry, obviously Ozempic's gone to his brain, it's not only eating his gut. The 18 trillion is the same as the GDP of China. China! God, I sounded like Trump. China, it's from China. 0344 499 1000. There's another story close to home that winds the what's-its out of me. In a way. By the way, it's going to say a very good afternoon to the legend. Henry Bolton, international border control expert. If I said that quite quickly the other day when you were on, it sounds like sort of pest control. International border control expert. How are you, my friend? Where's the flag, Bolters? Where is it? Where's the flag?
It's in another location.
Oh.
We've got a small one down there. Well, we don't talk about that.
I know what you've done. You've gone and put your flag outside Gary Neville's house, haven't you? Yes, quite right.
On the local roundabout.
Can we start with a story that I want to do that really annoys me? I live in the Bournemouth area, not in Bournemouth, along the coast, and there seems to be so much being written about Bournemouth now. There's 3 hugely overcrowded asylum seeker hotels, one very big circular one right by the beach, and we had that terrible story a few weeks ago where the 16-year-old girl a year ago had just been walking on the beach with her mates. A migrant who'd been in England a couple of weeks walked onto the beach, sexually assaulted her, was arrested. The court case happened, I think, 12 months later. The judge, who's obviously a complete melt, said, and I quote, "This is very out of character," for whatever his name was, and he's had a very hard upbringing, so we're going to forgive him and you can stay in the UK. No idea or thought as to the poor girl. I don't know whether to laugh or cry about this story today. Asylum seekers housed in taxpayer-funded hotels in Bournemouth, Henry, are reportedly expressing a keen desire to leave, citing overcrowding, isolation, lack of clarity about their future. The Dorset town, known for its sandy beaches and vibrant tourism, not anymore, has become a hotspot for tensions over the government's use of hotels. While intended as a temporary solution, many asylum seekers are growing disillusioned, bless them. Overcrowded accommodation. It's just, I'd rather go back home than stay here, one migrant reportedly said, highlighting frustrations over conditions. Bournemouth has seen rising crime and antisocial behaviour, with residents questioning the decision to place asylum seekers in already deprived areas. Much as I feel sorry for Bournemouth, this is brilliant, right? This, to me, absolutely justifies why we should build detention centres, probably in the Orkney Islands, no disrespect to the Scots, that are not very nice, that don't offer Wi-Fi and four meals a day and money on your credit card, that is not any better than a bloody tent on a French beach. And basically these people, I'm convinced about this, Henry, wouldn't then go, "We get everything in England, let's go to England." If it wasn't as great, they wouldn't want to come. Isn't that the point of this story?
That's absolutely the point, Jeremy. Look, that it also proves that they are being sold a pup. They're by the people smugglers. People smugglers going all the way back down the line, all the way to Somalia and Syria and so on, in Kurdish areas of Turkey, Iraq. They're pushing the UK as a soft option because they know they can get people into the UK. They don't care about what happens when these people get here. So they're selling it as the land of milk and honey. And of course, to a large extent, we've been demonstrating that indeed we are the land of milk and honey for these people. Now, you're quite right. This demonstrates that actually, if they were to understand it's not it's all sort of paved in gold here in the UK, they wouldn't want to come. As long as they think the UK is attractive, they will respond to the marketing of the criminals. And if we were able to put these people in detention facilities, as you say, and as I've been arguing now since 2014, I've been saying we should prepare, we should look over the horizon to increasing numbers, get ahead of the game, prepare these facilities so we can use them. If we were to do that, then the message would have got back to all these communities from which these people come that the UK is not the place to go.
I mean, that to me is not rocket science. So you're the international border control expert, right? And here's me sat here doing this show thinking, right, if you made it, I'm not interested to talk about the people smugglers or dropping your passport. I'm not interested in all the do-gooders who tell me these people are all escaping war-torn countries, because that's crap. Some are, but a large and increasing number are taking advantage because the pull of the United Kingdom is so great. To me, it's really simple. You've got two things you've got to do. You've got to make it less possible for people to come here. I mean, get the bloody Navy in. I don't know, turn the boats around. You've also got to make the pull less of a pull. And if you are saying, listen, you might die. I'm being completely straight here with people. They won't like it. You might die. But actually, if you get here, we'll put you in a 4-star hotel. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do the other. This has gone on for years. But the difference now, Henry, is that our own people who have worked, lived and expected here for years are missing out. Yeah. I think these people are taking the PISS, and I think it's high time. We just got tough. I don't understand why we're not tough.
We've talked about this before, but they're not. It's not just our people who are missing out. It's our public services that are breaking.
Yeah, they're missing out because those public services don't allow Betty from Bury to have her hip done.
Correct. We're running out of rented accommodation. Yep. All this, the people are having their weddings cancelled at these hotels. The whole thing is mad. Now, I first came across this, Jeremy, in 1999, when I was sent over to be advisor to the Albanian Prime Minister, crisis management advisor to the Albanian Prime Minister and government, when they were flooded. Albania was the poorest country really in the Northern Hemisphere at that time. And they were flooded with refugees coming over from Kosovo when NATO started the bombing in Kosovo. 400,000 people, doesn't sound that many, but compared to the size of Albania and its resources, it was absolutely massive. They all flooded in. The moment that the NATO forces went in, despite all sorts of warnings for these people not to return, they returned to Kosovo. Their houses had been destroyed. There was no work. There was absolutely nothing in Kosovo at the time. But they returned because actually Albania was even worse. And they didn't want to stay in Albania. They left the moment they could. And people will go back to whence they came if the UK is not an attractive place for them. The government and the authorities and these activists who are encouraging that we look after these people, they are actually part of the problem because they are creating an environment which these people feel welcome and they get things that make the UK attractive. So, we are building a problem for ourselves. And in fact, the problem is continuing to grow. The number of asylum seekers in the United Kingdom is growing. And it's not just people coming in by boat, it's people who are coming over on student visas and so on and then claiming asylum. And the number is growing. The number in hotels is very slightly less than it was a year ago, up till sort of the year to June 2024. But and actually some of the returns are increasing. But the returns, most of the increase in returns, Jeremy, are voluntary. They're these same people saying, I want to go home. And we're paying them to go back, but to be honest, I'm prepared to pay them £3,000 to go back.
I mean, that just winds me up. £2,000. Listen, for me, when I sat here when Rwanda was on, I wasn't a particular fan. If they'd done it a bit quicker, maybe. We've got a government that said they'd smash the gangs. They've done absolutely nothing. And in fact, the reality of the situation is that they're terrified of doing anything. I don't believe that amongst even the drudgery of most of the political class, there can't be one person at least who can't go, do you know what? It might not be popular with the do-gooders, but it's really very simple. You ain't coming in if you are not got a reason. You're going to be processed and sent back. And in the meantime, whilst we arrange for you to go back, you're going to go into a detention centre or somewhere like that. I just think it's softness. Before I let you go, I've got to ask you this because I want to see your face. I wish you had a camera. Lenny Henry's written a new book. It's called The Big Payback. And he says that Britain should pay reparations for slavery to all black British people because we personally deserve money for the effects of slavery. The book argues that the slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all black people suffer from. He said, and I quote, "The £18 trillion financial resolution is the only way for the UK to address racism." That, by the way, that figure, 18 trillion, is bigger than China's GDP. With a spring in your step and your hat at a jaunty ankle, Henry Bolton over just shaking his head, mate.
I think he must be short of a few bob because he's trying to sell a book to the people who might buy it. It's bonkers, isn't it? But this is what happens. You know, again, we're making a rod for our own back, aren't we? Look, we're paying Mauritius, God knows, $3 billion to take the Chagos Islands off us that we shouldn't be giving them in the first place. We're paying everybody money. Everybody apart from the poor Brits are getting money from the taxpayer.
Absolutely right.
You know, and this is just absolutely insane. And so, of course, these people are going to jump on the bandwagon. Give me some money. Well, let's try it on with the Brits. The Brits give money out like there's no tomorrow.
Steve in Boston's brilliant. He says, Lenny Henry, yes, you can have some bloody reparations once we get ours from the Romans, the Danes and the Normans. In the meantime, Tosser, get to the back of the queue. I mean, that sums it up, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's not directly an immigration thing, Jeremy, but it winds me up intensely. These people talking about what Britain owes the world for slavery. What about what the rest of the world owes the United Kingdom for everything we gave them?
Couldn't agree more.
Science, engineering, infrastructure, you know, the whole 9 yards. What about the rest of Europe who, you know, still effectively owe us money, if you want to do that, for going to their rescue? Napoleonic Wars, First War,
HB, I've got to go, but my God, you're on top form today. But miss the flag, dear boy. Don't let Neville get on you. Get it up, sir. That didn't sound right, did it? 20-6.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Kev, of course, here from 7 and Harry Cole, sounding great with Harry Cole Saves the West, live from Washington, D.C. on air from 10 o'clock. This is JK on Drive. Quickly to London. Nick, hello, me old son, how you doing?
Hello, mate. I hope you're well. The boats coming over, it actually staggers me that the government won't stop this. If the people on boats coming over carried guns and bombs and weapons and so on, you could bet the Royal Navy and Royal Marines would stop it in a heartbeat, and quite right too. The only reason we don't stop it, I'm sure, is due to the governing classes not wanting to. They haven't got the spine, the wit, the will, the intelligence.
Honestly, people laugh at me when I say this. I could stop the boats in a week.
I mean, until the Labour Party, Conservative Party, Lib Dems actually grasp this, the mainstream grasp this,
they won't.
I'm not voting for them.
They won't. They won't grasp it because they look at the appalling situation with flags. I said it already in the show, and I'll keep saying it. And I'm not apologising to anyone. I had lunch with a very good Jewish friend of mine today, Dave, and his family and his community is in turmoil. They're looking over their backs the whole time. You think of what happened in Heaton, in Manchester the other day, and yet, what, 2 hours later, we had Palestine Action marching, making outrageous comments about the Jewish community. The government's too scared to do anything about that because they're terrified they'll lose that vote. It's exactly the same as the boats. They've registered. I think they've just resigned to this ideology and this fear of upsetting groups. What we need in this country is somebody who doesn't care what crap is thrown at him or her. It doesn't matter about legal challenges or, mainstream media or institutions. Somebody who believes in what they're saying. And whether that's Farage or somebody else, I think, Nick, that the British people are crying out for that, don't you?
Yeah, me too. I don't like the idea of Conservative Party spending a year working out what their plans are. You should have some kind of base idea.
But you see, that's what I completely agree. That's what somebody said. I can't remember earlier. That you get with Starmer and you get with Badenoch, you think you've run this, haven't you, by every single focus group because it's all very clipped. Farage, for example, even Zach Polanski at the Greens, did I really say that? But I'm being honest, also speaks without notes. And they might make mistakes. Farage will make mistakes and the media will jump up and down, but his base will go, yeah, he's just a human. It's like this BS that all politicians should be squeaky clean, right? Doesn't matter. I don't care if my politician's been twice married, once smoked cannabis, has lost a bit on the horses, as long as he can damn well, or she, yes, here we go, can do what I asked them to do when I elected for them. Thank you, Nick in London. Let's head to Coventry. Simon, are you a Coventry City fan?
I am. I'm a rugby league fan. I don't like football.
How well are Coventry doing under Frankie Lampard? Doing brilliantly. What's your point, my friend?
So about Looney Henry, just got sort of 3 points, really. Firstly, does his people receiving reparations include people subjected to anti-Semitism?
Do you know what? Thank you. And do you know what an absolutely bloody brilliant point, Ryan. Can you just repeat that?
Does reparations include people for people victims of anti-Semitism?
Great point, Simon. Crack on.
Secondly, so I've got a mate and his wife is half Jamaican, so obviously their kids are quarter Jamaican. So do they get like a quarter share, or do they say that because they've got 3/4 white blood they don't get a share?
Interesting point.
And finally, my majority of my family, going back over time, are Irish Catholics who have, again, been pretty badly treated by the Crown. So is Lenny Henry expecting me to pay taxes for people from slave backgrounds to get money when most of my ancestors were literally left to starve to death in a country whose population is still not recovered 200 years on?
I think it's really interesting. I think you make so many brilliant points. I think it's very interesting that look, there was no doubt some culpability for the slave trade, but we were the country that ended slave trade. And what really, really winds me up about where we're at, this is a personal view, not talks, is that it seems to me that almost every single person wants to apologise for everything about how we did anything. I'm not sticking up for slavery. It was abolished and we were part of that. We made mistakes. But it seems that the United Kingdom has to make sure that we apologise, do more, step out and to the benefit of almost everybody. And the difference now is that's the detriment of our own people. And I honestly believe that when people like Lenny Henry, you've lived in this country, Lenny Henry, for what, 65 years? You've made a very good living, and now you're going to attack it and say it's a racist country. So are you saying that all the people that bought tickets to see you over the years and glorifying your success, white people, are in fact racist? Because I think if you told them that, they would be appalled and wouldn't come to your shows anymore. I'm not condoning anything that went on in the past, but we surely have to be at a point in our lives that we draw a line, and we're not. I'm sick and tired of do-gooders saying, you know, well, we need to apologise for that, we need to make... Let's deal with what's happening right now, people, right? Thank you so much indeed, Simon. Let's deal with the problems in this country. And when I go on about the indigenous population, I just read some article saying Jeremy Kyle is well, I'm going to use the word, he's a racist knobhead. That was very nice. I don't care. I'm completely honest. I've had everything written about me. You can say what you want. I happen to be, like Jake Berry, actually, a Brit who likes this country, admires this country for what it has and what it's been, and doesn't like the direction it's going. I don't care the colour of your skin or the creed of you. I don't care. I've told the story many times. There's people who have come to this country and built a business and had families and embraced the United Kingdom. But it's not unfair to say that right now we're in a situation where people come to this country to take the mickey, to take advantage, because the pull is great. They do nothing to pay back, they give nothing back, and they take advantage. And people who've been here on their life are missing out. Do you think that's fair? I damn well don't. After 6... Ha-ha. I was going to say the next, no, I'm not going to say that. The Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice, deigns us with his, well, presence, I should say. And what I'd like to do, it worked really well yesterday with Sarah Pochin. You can text me, 87222. What do you want to ask Richard Tice? I'll be talking to him about Kemi Badenoch saying that stamp duty is abolished. I'll be talking to him about Kemi Badenoch calling Nigel Farage a smelly pig. In effect, is what he did. About Roger Jenrick's comments about Handsworth in Birmingham, about Lenny Henry and slavery reparations, about immigration. What do you want to ask Richard Tice? 0344 419 1000. You can do it on the phone, or you can text 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Back in 3.
reality is they need us more than we need them. We're still paying them large amounts of money under the original divorce agreement, so we could just stop paying those sums of money and so on.
Things are going to unravel really fast if we can't agree that crossing a border of a sovereign country, capturing 250 people, taking them hostage, killing another 1,200, including grandmothers, women, fathers, children, that is abhorrent.
Right.
And
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 5 to 6. We're live across the UK. I should say a very good evening to my son Henry, who's just been on the phone. No, I'm joking. He said he can get into all this political stuff. Well played today. Mate, you want to be on, by the way, 0344 499 1000. The Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice, live and exclusive with me after 6. You want to set a question, 87222. You can also ring 0344 499 1000. Amy, big smile and push that button, baby.
Sports news from The Sun.
Am I allowed to say baby? Probably not. Probably somebody will criticise me. She seems to be all right with it. Tea, please, Joe. Just a joke. Just a joke. What did you say, Amy? Nobody actually... Oh, I see. Oh, fair enough. Right, anyway, we say a very good evening to the chief sports reporter from The Sun, legendary Martin Lippman. How are you, my friend?
I wouldn't say I was a legend, but there we go, Jeremy. It was a pleasure to be on with you.
It says it here, Martin Lipton, legend. No, great to have you on, my friend. You're in Rome.
I am.
This is a breaking news story. Sun Sport, the place to go for your sport, where UEFA and the major clubs believe they will now get $4.5 billion per season from the next Champions League TV deal. This is extraordinary money.
It's an awful lot of money, and it will be starting in 2027. We're into year 2 of the current deal, of a 3-year deal. They've gone with these new partners who are US-based Relevant Sports, but they're going to change the model, surprise, for broadcasting. There's going to be the option for a global streamer to broadcast one game of each match round, including up to the semi-final. So that's another set of money that the listeners and viewers are going to have to fork out if they want to watch the Champions League, quite possibly, if it goes to someone like DAZN or Disney or Netflix or whomever it might be. And that obviously will mean more money for the clubs. I reckon with a sort of back of a fag packet calculation, probably 70 to 75 million pounds without kicking a ball for the big English clubs.
Can I ask a question? I'm not trying to create an argument at all, because money's great, but this will simply fuel the argument that the difference between the top 4 or 6 and the rest of the Premier League, as against anything in the Championship beyond, is going to become completely ludicrous, isn't it? Ludicrous.
It's going to exacerbate the divide, particularly if those teams playing in the Club World Cup every 4 years. And we know that Chelsea made the best part of 100 million from that this summer. The teams that aren't in the Champions League will definitely feel the difference. You know, the Premier League winners get about 175 million from TV money. The bottom team gets 110. So within the Premier League, it's almost
Why
equitable.
did you have to mention the bottom team in the Premier League as a West Ham fan? That's just wound me up now.
You're not there yet. You're not there. You're at least 2 points ahead of Wolves, aren't you?
Oh, God. Analysis today by Swiss number crunchers. Don't know what that means. So Chelsea, the most valuable squad in world football, 1.56 billion, whilst Man United have dropped below Brighton, which shows you everything you need to know about their recruitment. Much has been said about Chelsea. Young players, 8-year contracts, sell-on value, blah, blah, blah. Do you think their model's the right model? They're playing well?
Well, they played really well on Saturday, didn't they? Liverpool. It was excellent. But the performances the previous 2 weeks have been terrible against United and Brighton, the 2 teams that are 11th and 12th in this list. What the list shows also is the power of the English game. There are 20 of the top 60 teams, the entire Premier League in the top 60, and the global value, 6, 7 in the top 12. Again, huge indicator of where the money is, and it's going to get more the case, I think. I believe we're going to end up with bigger squads, 28 rather than 25. And where are those players going to go? They're going to go where the money is. They're going to come to play in England because they're going to be paid maybe twice as much as they're being paid elsewhere. And I do think that it's an indicator really of where we're going. Chelsea, I think, have been really interesting model in how to do things. To be fair, they spent 1.5 billion and they've only got players worth 1.5 billion. So you could argue they've probably effectively lost money because they had all the players before that they had to get rid of. But nevertheless, these numbers look impressive. They're ahead of Real Madrid, ahead of Bayern Munich, ahead of Barcelona. Now, when would you have imagined you'd be able to say that about an English club? I mean, it's indicative, as I said, of the change in balance of power.
Martin, I wish I had longer. I wish I had longer. Very interesting. I hate the international break. I hate not having Premier League football at the weekend. England-Wales preview press conference not until 7:30. Are we interested? We got 10 seconds. England-Wales, whatever.
Should be quite fun, but probably no Harry Kane, and doesn't really matter. England have qualified. Wales have got their big match against Belgium on Monday.
Good man. Great to have you on. Enjoy Rome. I'm stuck in the East End. Great. Martin Lippman from The Sun. Read Sun Sport tomorrow. Richard Tice on the way. Get your call in.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
2 minutes past 6, we're live across the UK. Straight to it, a man who is deigning us with his presence. I can see him grinning in the background. Richard Tice, Deputy to Reform UK. Telling my team what he wants to talk about. Whatever you want, Tice. But just remember, mate, you're not in government yet. It's the Jeremy Kyle show as we speak, all right?
Good evening, Jeremy. Lovely to see you.
And you, my friend. Thank you so much indeed. I've so much I want to cram in. I know you've got to be out by 6:20. We'll talk Chinese spies. We'll talk Lenny Henry. We'll talk Robert Jenner. Let's start with Cameron Badenoch. Tory party conference today. I won't play the clip. She stood up and she said, I'm going to abolish stamp duty. She told delegates at the party's conference that she considered reducing the levy, but decided that wasn't far enough. It's going to cost £47 billion and she's going to pay for it. And this is fully costed by her shadow cabinet. Almost half of the savings would come from welfare reforms. Interesting response. Most people saying, why didn't you do it when you're in power? Even more people saying, Richard, and I quote, not sure you're actually going to do it, but even if you do, we don't believe a word you bloody well say. You lied to us and you need to go and serve your time elsewhere, not in a farmyard. We'll talk about that in a minute. What's Reform's response to this today?
Well, once again, the Tories have been listening and learning and copying from Reform policies, because guess what, Jeremy? Changes to stamp duty, dramatically reducing it, was in our contract last July that the Tories said was no good. So, in the same way that they're now saying they want to leave the ECHR, in the same way they're saying that they don't want to pay benefits to foreign nationals, they did all these things and they refused to change all these things when they're in power. So they've had their chance. No one believes a word they say, and they're just trying to desperately play catch up. It's sort of sad but sweet, really. I mean, they're just becoming irrelevant. I haven't seen any pictures how many people are actually in the hall.
Well, I got into trouble yesterday. You'd have been proud of me. I said to Alex Shelbrook, he was being interviewed, and I went, did you all turn up in one minibus? Because it only looked like about 11 people were there. I want to do this to you because I know that you trust us. Anne, very quickly, a text straight in. Jez, could you please ask Richard if Reform are going to continue state pensions as part of their contract? I've worked since the age of 16 for 45 years with no breaks and still have to wait another 5 years. I've paid full NI. I'm fed up listening to the younger population saying they do not like the idea of people like me receiving a state pension. I'm really keen to know because I want to vote for Reform, but I want to know that I'm going to be safe and secure. Richard?
Of course, Anne would be safe and secure. Pensions are a critical part of sort of the fabric of who we are, what we are. Work is a great thing. People contribute, as you've just said there, through national insurance, and pensions are a critical part of that. So that's the bedrock of who we are and what we are.
Also, this is interesting. Martin in Whitley Bear, he says, Richard, I'm sure you've got a few quid. Could you lend me a few, Bob? Because there's 18 trillion possible, so I could lend it to bloody Sir Lenny Henry, and they hope he'll shut up and stop dissing our great nation. Any spare coins, I'd be very grateful to receive. Have you heard this story about Lenny Henry today, Richard Tice, when we're in the middle of a financial crisis in this country? Have you read this?
What's he said? I mean, he's a comedian, so he's probably come up with some comic numbers.
Well, no, somebody said it's the only funny thing he said since 1983. He says that we should pay reparations for slavery to all black British people to the tune of 18 trillion, which is more than the GDP for the whole of China. He says we personally deserve money to us black people for the effects of slavery. The book argues that the slave trade led to modern-day racism, which all black people suffer from. So there you go.
He's having a laugh. It's April Fool's Day. Dear old Lenny. I mean, it's
dear old Lenny.
Let's treat it with the farce that it deserves.
Well, now we should talk about. When you talk about farce, I had Isabel Oakeshott earlier, who rather sweetly mentioned to me that the minute that Kemi Badenoch launched into her farmyard gutter thing today, that of course Cameron the pig story came out. But did you? I must just play this if you're just tuning in. Kemi Badenoch. This is how she decided to sort of fire a salvo at Nigel Farage and Keir Starmer. Play the clip, please.
But we can't beat them simply by attacking them. As George Bernard Shaw said, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. We have to offer something better.
Richard Tice, I mean, on a serious note, and I mean this, that is the politics of panic to me. I mean, I gave credit to the stamp duty thing, but I mean, you're trying to project yourself as a future leader of a country that's facing problems, and that's the best you've got.
Well, let's try and be optimistic this evening, shall we? And at least we saw Kemi smile, and which is a rare thing, and sort of try and create some form of humour. It didn't work, as you've said. It's sort of a bit ridiculous, but it's just this whole conference has been a sort of a vacant form of desperation, and that's how everybody has reported it. The policies they have announced, almost all of them, by the way, including scrapping net stupid zero. Once again, they're copying our policies. So
it feels to me, Richard, and we've talked about this before, and I've sat here for 3 years now, it feels to me that everybody else, and I've said this about Nigel, I've said it to you and to him personally, everybody else is reactive and is playing catch-up. And even if the Tory party now ditched Kemi Badenoch for Robert Jenrick, right? Everybody would just say, well, that's taken too long. Nigel Farage, for whatever reason, seems to be at the front and centre with his finger on the pulse of the British people and speaking the language that the people want to hear and isn't frightened of it. And one caller earlier said something I wanted your response to. They said, the reason I love Farage, he said, was that he speaks from the heart and he'll make mistakes. He doesn't read from produced notes and you feel like everything's been, you know, organised by 47 people who have fact-checked it. And I've said for ages to you, I don't mind if our politicians aren't bloody perfect. I just want to believe in the people that we elect.
Well, that's right. And part of the difference is, you know, we believe this stuff. And so when Nigel and I both gave our speeches to conference in early September, you know, we stood at the front of the stage. We didn't have to rely on a lectern. We just told it from the heart as we see it, hear it, and believe it. And that's what we've always done. And I think that's why people recognise we talk about some difficult issues in the best way we can. Sometimes it might offend the easily offended, and sometimes you know, it's uncomfortable. But we have to take some of this stuff on, whether it's on immigration, whether it's on net zero. We've called all this stuff out, the ECHR, the ludicrous Human Rights Act, and we're going to bin the lot. And everybody else is saying, crikey, actually, yeah, those policies are quite popular because they're a real problem for this country. And it's the Tories and Labour, who are basically one uniparty, you know, they imposed all of this stuff on us. They made us poorer. They destroyed our jobs. They're destroying the auto industry. They're destroying the oil and gas and the chemical industry, all because of their policies that even Boris, that toxic farce of a man, is now admitting with net zero, he went a bit too far too fast. Oh, thanks, Boris. Yeah. Thanks for ruining our economy.
I would have. He was in the building the other day, and they said to me, "Don't you go near him," because I'd have said to him, "You had the best." No, you blew it, mate. And I was a total supporter, and you blew it. You could have ruled for 10 long years, and I blame the Tories for what we have now. Quickly, before I talk to you about the Chinese spy situation with the government, this is brilliant. I want your response. I mean, I live near Bournemouth. Asylum seekers housed in a taxpayer-funded hotel in Bournemouth are reportedly expressing a complete desire to leave the UK, citing overcrowding, isolation and lack of clarity about their future. I think we should put even more into that hotel. Surely that's the problem, Richard Tice, that the pull is so great. Isn't that fantastic? That says to me, build a really crappy detention centre on a midge-infested island, and these buggers wouldn't come over because they tell all their mates it's not a holiday camp like it's been. Isn't that true?
Is that a technical term, the B word?
I think so.
Look, no, the reality is everybody knows this is an outrage, that we're far too generous. We've become a huge magnet for hundreds of thousands of people all over the world who are trying to get to the UK. There are thousands and thousands of people in and around Calais and northern France who are planning to come here over the coming weeks and months before Christmas. And they know that the prospect of them being deported is the square root of not a lot. And that's why our policy of detain and deport, and when we detain them in somewhere remote in the UK, and we deport them very, very rapidly. That's the only deterrent that you're going to get. Otherwise, this crisis grows and grows, and the anger and fury will increase very substantially. And we're in a bad enough place as it is.
Will from Portsmouth. Richard Tice, please, can you answer this? Will reform change the voting system to proportional representation if they win power?
Yeah, that's always been something that we felt very strongly about, proportional representation. It's got to be done properly, though. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it properly so that it works for the country, with the right minimum thresholds and the like, to prevent the chaos that you see in other countries. If you have too many small parties, if you set the threshold too low, then it doesn't work.
One of the big news stories of the day, which we haven't covered yet on the show, I was listening to Mike this morning. The Conservatives have accused the government of a barefaced lie over the collapse of the Chinese spy case. To just give people some idea, I think this is extraordinary. The CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, which, as you remember, its old boss was Sir Dreary Starmer, has said that it was forced to drop charges against 2 suspects last month after Labour, the government, failed to provide evidence that China was a national security threat. Apparently, reading in between the lines, Sir Jonathan Powell, head of sort of that for Starmer, he's one of Blairites, doesn't want us to go to court and threaten China and call them liars and spies, and that's not good for international relations, which presumably provides carte blanche for anybody to come and spy. On a personal level, it's a bit bloody rich from our Prime Minister, who spends his entire time backing his left-wing human rights lawyers' mates. He was the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, to be actually at war with them now, Richard Tice. Your thoughts on this, please?
This is very, very serious. I believe that the government has deliberately misled Parliament and is now lying about what's really gone on. And early in September, I stood up, I asked the Minister, Dan Jarvis, whether or not anybody high up in government had interfered with the Crown Prosecution Service to stop this trial. And now the truth has come out that yes, actually, the government took through this advisor, took a decision not to, essentially, not to provide the evidence that everybody knows is there and to describe China as a national security threat. That's what many reports and many comments have been made. That's what MI5 has consistently felt and believed. And instead, we've got a government that's kowtowing to China. I fear that there are links to this plans for a new super mega Chinese embassy in the heart of the City of London, just to the north of Tower of London. And yeah, this stinks. It stinks.
Well, I'll tell you how much it stinks. Well, I'll tell you why, and I'm not complimenting you. You're dead right. We followed that when you asked that question. So, at times of crisis, ladies and gentlemen, what our Prime Minister does is he buggers off abroad. He's now gone to India, apparently on a trade deal. As he was in the air, the European Union that I thought we had left said we're going to raise tariffs at 50% and destroy your steel industry. But I don't know if you've seen this, Richard. In the last couple of hours, Keir Starmer has spoken about the Chinese spy trial collapse. Just have a watch of this and work out. This is our Prime Minister representing this country. This is Sir Keir Starmer.
As you know, we were disappointed that the trial didn't proceed, but the position is very clear that the trial would have had to take place on the basis of the situation as it was at the time under the previous Tory government. So whatever their position was the only position that could be presented at trial. So it wasn't as well this government's position, it was the Tory government before's position. Now that's not a political to and fro, that's a matter of law. You have to prosecute people on the basis of the circumstances at the time of the alleged offence. And so all the focus needs to be on the policy of the Tory government in place then. That's the only place that the evidence could be focused on. And I think that provides a sort of ray of spotlight into some of the issues that have been swirling around.
Richard Tice,
let me tell you that. Let me tell you what's gone on there, because the CPS that he was the boss of made a decision in April 2024 under the previous government to press charges based on the evidence they had at the time, the statements at the time, their awareness of a national security threat. So yes, they made that decision then based on what was going on back then. So Prime Minister, what have you done since? What have you changed? What do you now refuse to provide by way of evidence? And it is quite clear that this government has interfered with the independent judicial process and has stopped this trial.
Tell me why. What's the benefit? No, I don't disagree with you. I mean, just on a purely personal level, if I sit away from the studio and watch that interview, it doesn't make any sense. He's blinking in the headlights again. I would, as a voter, go, you're bloody well lying to me again, mate. I know you're lying by looking at your body language. If they've done this, why? What, because they're terrified of China, the Chinese threat? Why are they why?
Because they are kowtowing to China. That is why. Because China has significant interests. I mean, let's remember that it was only Donald Trump that stopped Boris Johnson from including Chinese technology in some of our critical infrastructure 5 years ago. Yeah. We've got substantial Chinese interests in our universities, research grants, and the like. And we've got their appetite for this huge embassy There is so much that we don't know about that needs to be uncovered, but we should be under no illusion. I mean, the Chinese they've had spies.
He denied that. Sorry,
so,
go on.
This is, I'm afraid, this is so serious. The Speaker of the House of Commons was raging about this to the point that he even said we might have to look at Parliament pursuing a private criminal prosecution. So I think this is going to run and run when we come back to the House of Commons after recess next week. Let's see where this goes. But I don't think we've heard the end of this yet. I think Jonathan Powell needs to answer some very serious questions. And I think that I think this has a very, very fishy smell about it.
Can I ask you a question?
Everybody can sense it.
Can I ask you a question before I let you go, very quickly? You set up reform, Nigel comes on board, you're topping the polls, you're dealing with stuff. Every party conference this summer, it seems that a party with 5 gets insulted and talked about the whole time. The traction's unbelievable. Or even you, and I mean, as a mate, answer me this, right? The basic problems, the lies and the dirty work of this government. I mean, I'm absolutely flabbergasted on a daily basis. You can't possibly tell me 15 months ago you believed it would be this bad, Richard Tice, because it's awful.
It is awful. Nobody could believe that it could become so bad so quickly. And it's very sad for everybody. It's sad for families, workers, communities. It's truly desperate. And everybody says, how can this go on for another 3 3/4 years? The only good news out there is that it is less than 4 years. Not that I'm counting by the day, but I am literally. It is terrible, but that's what happens when hard left socialists essentially are running the show.
And I'll finish as I started, and when Kemi Badenoch said the stamp duty thing, and I said that the British public have stopped listening, one of the things that's coming through from our callers is we have this shower in because of the duplicity and the lies from the Tory party, and that's the reason. Mate, I know you're busy, really appreciate it. 6:20 on the button, are you happy about that?
Lovely to see you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, mate. Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of Reform UK and MP, of course, for Boston and Skegness. That Chinese spy story, I heard Mike talking about it. It does beg a belief, if you think about it. A man who headed the Crown Prosecution Service is now being accused, our Prime Minister, by the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, to block or to be blocking a trial. His answer in Mumbai is to blame the Tories. How long is that going to continue? That this government will say, we've done this and we've done that. I mean, Ryan will start hitting the button again, but you have to look at these 15 months and Guska. You've been awful. Another appalling example. What do you make of the Tice? 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Drive.
attacks, religious retaliations, revenge attacks for the Islamist terrorist assault on the synagogue last Thursday. Well, at least in one case, we have reason to believe that that assumption, jumping to that conclusion, was wrong.
Why don't we just say, you know, if you want a licence to fish in our waters, that's going to cost you £500,000 each. See how that goes.
Well, exactly. All of that needs to be put on the table if the EU want to play these games. And the reality is they need us more than we need them. We're still paying them large amounts of money under the original divorce agreement, so we could just stop paying those sums of money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
6:25. Kev here with his political asylum. It's a mental institution, an asylum. I'll let you make of that what you will. It's fantastic. Give it a watch, give it a listen from 7 o'clock. And Harry Cole, Saving the West, back from 10 o'clock tonight. Loads of you texting. Jez, I've always wondered why we had to pay stamp duty in order to buy a house. The money is an extra lump sum and comes from earnings and savings that we're to pay tax on. Why should the government have this money? Labour has trashed the economy and put this unfair, disgraceful tax up. I think it's an excellent way to help the housing market out of the doldrums. A good move in the right direction, says Marilyn Hopkins in Manchester. They are. Kemi's won her over. Nan is in Wales. Not my Nan, because my Nan's dead. I've always... No. Nan in Wales, sorry. Kemi was obviously referring to Farage. She will show her true colours, of course she will. Never trusted and never will. Was a Tory voter, but never again. Stamp duty must have been the one that Reform didn't mention. They are digging deep. But what about what nobody is thinking about is buying houses right now, because nobody can afford it now, and you could absolutely be spot on. Although Richard Tice did just say to us, didn't he, that it was in the contract, probably not something they talked about. Marcella, Jezza, whether she or Jenrick say, as far as she has got all the... What? Thank you. Stephen Bullen, Kemi Badenoch's pig quotation simply shows she's deep in the muck in the sty as Labour. Disappointing, says Stephen Bullen. Hello to Lynn from Crowthorne. Kemi will not be able to deliver the policies in her speech as the Conservative Party is too much of a broad church and the Liberals will take over again. Dave is in Oxford. Good afternoon. Kemi's speech was good, Jez, I'll give you that, but the damage is done. People want change, not words. Reform all the way. Dan from Lingfield, regarding reparations, if we add up all the foreign aid and charity money ever sent to the Caribbean, then add up all the benefits ever had in Britain, it will amount to reparations. End of Lenny. Do one. David's in the Cotswolds. Jemmy, where did I get that from? Jemmy? What's happened to me? Do you want me to let you into a little secret, Ryan? My mother, God rest her soul, used to call me Jem, her little Jem. Don't know why I've said that. Kemi Badenoch's speech was like Shakespearean tragedy, Hamlet, whereas Lenny Henry's book will be about as entertaining as running barefoot through a room of Lego. Great. Ashley from Whitstable in Kent. I was on a radio station there. I totally agree with Jake Berry that what Robert Jenrick said had me a little bit worried, as I'm not a white person. I was born in England, my dad was born in England, but I still have colour, and I believe that Reform didn't care about colour. The last thing I want is to walk down the street and be abused because of the colour of my skin, and I think insane things like that are pushing the narrative towards Reform, and I understand why. Sally, the Liberal Democrats stand for one thing: a better deal for carers. If I hear... You're all right, Joe. What are you doing, Joe? Just come round here a sec. Just come round... Yeah, come round here. Come round here and say hello.
Hello.
Just come round here. It's extraordinary. Jodie literally comes in on her knees with tea. She's so brilliant. I've missed you. I didn't mean you... You know what I'm saying. The Liberal Democrats stand for one thing: a better deal for carers. If I hear Ed Bleeding Davey mention it one more time at PMQs, I'm going to wrestle a pig. I'm not sure about that. Nathan's in Weymouth. How are you, Nath? Labour and Conservatives are running scared. They try and knock back Reform and throw insults at Nigel Farage. The point the mainstream parties don't seem to grasp is that mainstream voters in England, Wales and Scotland have actually had enough, Jez, and they want to try something new. They want politics that reflects their lives. Reform will be a juggernaut, and none of them will be able to stop, because it's what middle England UK voters right now want. Hello to Jane, listening to Richard Tice. David in Alva. Richard, Get more done in Scotland. Reform being really felt up here. It's important. Joanna again from Salisbury. Keir Starmer and Inga. I hope he's left the UK checkbook at number 10. That's a good point. Peter's in Croydon. I feel like if I don't read them round, it's not fair. Peter's in Croydon. Liar Starmer is a proper arse. Re the spy trial. He again blames the Tories, but he was head of the DPP at the time. Wouldn't it be ironic if it was the CPS that brought this moron down? I remember Boris Johnson, when I was supporting him, literally said, you know, you're having a go at me. What about when you were the head of the Crown Prosecution Service? What about Jimmy Savile? And everybody went, oh, that's a terrible blow. What a great text that is, Ryan, from Peter in Croydon. Wouldn't it be ironic if the lawyer that headed up the CPS was eventually brought down by the CPS? And finally, Don in Chelmsford. How much longer can Starmer survive with a new scandal every week? He also handles the truth carelessly. You watch that video in India, and he's sweating and he's shaking and his eyes are going from side to side because he is a liar. Let's go to London. Pat, a very good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, you know, the fact is that he forgets, like Lenny Henry, forgets where he is and who's given him, like, fortune, fame and a title. And basically, you know, I'm worried that this Labour lot could answer his prayer and give him reparations for as much as they desire. I mean, that's what worries me.
The thing is, let's be honest. Lenny Henry, I don't know him. I used to think he was he's a very funny man, or was. The Big Payback is a book that he's written in conjunction with another man, Marcus Ryder, actually, who's a diversity campaigner. They suggest the money should go to all Caribbean nations and black British citizens. All black people, as Henry says, need reparations from slavery. I understand when you're trying to sell a book. I understand authenticity. That is barking mad when you consider where this country's at. It's barking mad when you forget, you know, you step away from the headlines that Britain is responsible for every bit of evil that's ever gone in the world. It's BS, right? We were part of the abolishment of slavery. Yes, the United Kingdom has made mistakes in the past. Plenty of countries have. What I rail against, Pat, and I get told on social media I'm an arse, is that this once great country of ours seems to do nothing more than apologise for everything. Everything in the past, everything in the future, everything in the present, and I'm sick of it. If this country, for people like Lenny Henry and Gary Neville and all these people, is so appalling to Keir Starmer, if you're so unproud of everything else, why don't you sod off somewhere else? Honestly, it does my head in, man.
Well, yes. I mean, look. The thing is that in his old age, well, you said he's funny. I'll tell you, he was about as funny as a bleating bad bag. You know, honestly, how he ever got to where he ever got, I think was, well, due to maybe the fact that he was...
Wherever he got to, right, he got there. I don't, it's like I said the other day about Neville, I don't have a problem with somebody having an opinion. I'm sick to death of Britain being trash. Pat, thank you. Let's head to Manchester. Alan, red or blue?
I'm a red. How you doing? You okay, Jerry?
God, you must be depressed.
I am, mate, but never mind.
What you got for me, kiddo?
So I've got two, and one's going to be a bit of a curveball, I think. So reparations. So I live in Manchester. I've done all my life in Lancashire, all the way around. All my family has. So long story short, mines, foundries, mills, things that built the Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
We've no statue. We've no reparations for working 16 hours, 17 hours a day, getting worked to death, the workhouses, etc., etc. Reparations there. Where's our reparations from the global companies and all the big companies and corporations in London that made all this money, the Nouveau Riche, the Victorian era? Where's our reparations? Where are our statues?
I couldn't agree more.
And then the curveball, and this is a real curveball, if you committed a crime, you would either join the army forcibly by the magistrate or the government or whatever it was going to be, or you would be hung or transported to Australia or the colonies. Where's the reparations for all the people in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, all these other colonies and countries that they got sent to, transported?
Look, mate, I do not disagree with you. I want to ask you something as well. A mank, a red. I railed against Gary Neville on Monday. It caused a bit of a spat. I just have an opinion. He's got an opinion. What did you make of him saying that white, angry, middle-aged men raising flags are the problem with the United Kingdom right now?
The problem is, with that, him saying that, is that he doesn't understand the fact of why people are angry, and he doesn't grasp the fact that it's extremism that is causing it. And he lives.
You lost
in
your
Bury.
respect for him?
I've lost my respect for him completely. I mean, we used to sing a song for him, Gary Neville has already ate Scousers. Well, Gary Neville is a true red. He's a communist, socialist communist, and it's not Gary Neville has already ate Scousers. He hates Britons.
I found it astonishing when they dug a bit, and I saw the footage of him. You know, he's going about how I'm proud to play for England 85 times, blah, blah, blah. And he had a successful football career. Well done to him. But he had his head down when they sang the national anthem. I'd love to know what his mate Beckham thinks of him right now.
Well, honestly, a funny story to finish off to lighten for a moment about his house. I know a few people who worked on the house when it was being built, and you wouldn't believe this, but there were actually some Scousers built the house. And I think under his swimming pool, they've actually buried a Liverpool shirt, and other memorabilia of such kind have gone down the cavity as well. So every time he's in his house, in that particular area, there'll be a Liverpool shirt knocking about. So.
Al, you've made my evening, you have. Thank you, my friend. Alan in Manchester. Let's go to Norfolk. Kimberly, hello, a very good evening to you. Welcome to Talk Drive.
Hello, hello.
How are you? Whereabouts in Norfolk?
So actually, I'm just into Lincolnshire now, but we used to live in Norfolk.
Oh, bless you. All right. Well, you're on Drive. What do you want to say?
So I was listening to you earlier on, and I get really frustrated when we hear about the votes, for example, and I'm absolutely not racist, not by any means. But I'm really frustrated that both my husband and myself work full-time, very long hours. But our son, unfortunately, through no fault of his own, went blind 2.5 years ago. He was 18 years old. He
18.
Went 18. He went blind over about a 4-week period. No fault of his own. It works out as a genetic condition.
Yeah.
However, we've really supported him. We went private to pay for his medication that gives him a 50% chance of having increased sight, to the point there's been enough people. Sorry, I'm getting flustered. It's given people enough sight back they can drive again, and it's not funded on the NHS, but it is in Scotland and Ireland and Wales. But moving forward, we've just registered him with their local housing authority, and he's been told that he's got an 8-year wait for a flat. Yet, you come over on a boat and you get everything given to you.
And I would like to put Kimberly's points, which, bless you, to other people, right? And when the left look at this station sometimes, Ryan's doing that eye thing that worries me, and they say, oh, you bang the far right. Rubbish. You are living proof of what I talk about every day. You've paid your taxes, you've paid your stamp, you've never asked for a handover. Your poor son gets to 18, through a genetic condition goes blind. You're not getting the right help from the services, you're doing that privately, and you get told when you try and get him the right accommodation, you're at the back of the queue, and people who've come over here and paid zilch, they'll be at the front of the queue. And when I say this, a lot of people say to me, it's very unfair, Jez, they're coming from war-torn areas. They're taking the mickey out of us, are they not, Kimberly?
Absolutely. It feels that it doesn't matter what you do, you try and help, and other people come first that don't.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
It's so frustrating.
I'm so glad you called, and I do know. We talk about it, Mike and I. We talk. It's easy, isn't it? It would be easy to just come here and go, yeah. But the truth is, I don't. That's genuinely a story that people need to hear. It cannot be right that you come to this country having paid nothing and you get treated better than people who've been here all their lives and have paid in. That's barking mad. It's absolutely mad. Really appreciate it, and great to have you on. Thank you so much indeed. Kimberly in Norfolk, 20 to 7, live across the UK. Got the update in the Sun's newspaper tomorrow. Will Barker, Deputy Head of News, because John Lucas, it's not on the poll, Jode. He knew you were coming back and he was scared. 20 to 7.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 18 minutes to 7. Deputy News at the Sun, Will Barker, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Unshaven and the top button's
I know.
undone. What's happening, son?
It might only be Wednesday for you, but this is the end of the week for me.
Why?
Well, I work the weekend, so this is my sort of end of the week.
So you get Thursday and Friday off?
Yeah.
What do you do on a Thursday and Friday?
Well, I know you've got a lad who's a teenager. Mine's going to be 17. We've got a big party, and we're going to be putting tents and all that kind of thing at the weekend.
How do you feel when you walk in here on a Wednesday and Jodie just looks disappointed at you because you're not John Lucas? How do you feel about that? Does it upset you as well?
Not really. I like to think that I'm a good second.
Well, listen, you shouldn't be seconds for anybody. Oh, look at her now. Will's me favourite on a Wednesday. Tomorrow's paper, The Sun. Kate, this is an ongoing case, so we have to be very careful. But Kate McCann today telling a court what she wants most is for Madeleine to be back and calling her mum. The mum's voice broke as she told a jury the pain she was caused by an alleged stalker falsely insisting she was her missing daughter.
Yeah,
Talk about this.
So she's given evidence today at Leicester Crown, and it's incredible stuff. They've had this stalker for 3 years, allegedly. There's two people in the dock, Julia Wandle and Karen Spragg. They both deny these charges, but Kate was explaining that she was telling the court that Julia approached her last year, turned up at her house and started to call her mum and tried to get into the house, which is just awful, really. You know, considering what this family have gone through, and having now to deal with this alleged crimes of being stalked by these women.
On the back of the Myleene Class thing the other day as well in The Sun. I mean, this stalking thing is I think it's great that the paper follows this up, because that, you know, what we've all got an opinion on what happened to that dear sweet girl, or we've got an opinion on the story, but it's just awful.
Jerry says in his, because he gave evidence as well, and he says that we've still got that glimmer of hope that she might still be out there alive. And
you'd have to have, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a parent, I'm a parent, you'd have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Final call. I did this earlier, I broke this news earlier. The Manchester synagogue killer made a 999 call after his attack, saying, "I've killed 2 Jews in the name of the Islamic State." Jihad. You couldn't make that up, could you?
No,
How shammy. Honestly, I mean, really, I don't know where we're at, but it does, for me, ask so many questions. Why didn't the authorities know about this man? It's frightening.
Yeah.
What is the point of prevent?
Yeah. And I think the sad thing is, actually, with this guy, I think more than terror, he was just a man in an awful position. He'd run out of money, he'd gone through wives, he was in terrible, and he was just on the internet finding all this
stuff. There are many people who run out of money, get divorced, who haven't been radical. I can't see. When I did the old show, people would say to me, "You're very harsh on people who take drugs." Yeah, because you put it down your throat.
Yeah.
Nobody asked him to be radicalised. It's why I went nuts the other day when that judge on the court case in Bournemouth, when the immigrant had sexually assaulted this girl, who was traumatised forever, and the judge goes, "We had a bad upbringing." What does that say to all the people who had a bad upbringing, who didn't become radicalised and kill innocent Jews, or didn't go onto a beach and sexually assault young women? I think it's... Sorry, he shouldn't have been in this country. Now, this is a bit more light. You put the mockers on it. This is very clever, this. Mockers as in M-O-C-H-A-S. Tell me more.
Well, great exclude by our consumer team. So there's new rules, which I have to say I wasn't particularly aware of.
I'm surprised, because it's to do with Wetherspoons. You know everything to do with Wetherspoons,
well, I do.
Parker, don't you?
Now we know, because it's only just down the road from us now. If you pop in, they normally do a hot chocolate refill. Now, I don't normally buy the hot chocolate for Wetherspoons.
Hold on a second, right, through the glass. Has anybody ever had a hot chocolate from Wetherspoons? Ryan used to work there. God alive, did you really? Hello, would you like a hot chocolate? I bet that business was great when you were in, wasn't it? Thank you. And they have to stand in an orderly queue. So Wetherspoons used to provide free hot chocolate refills, but this is now being banned.
Yes. This is nanny state rules have come in, and they've cancelled anybody getting these hot sugary drinks in a refill. So in Nando's, you can't get a refill on the Coke anymore, but it also applies to hot sugary drinks.
So now you can't get a free refill because you'll become fatter.
Yeah.
Honestly, Ryan, thoughts on that? This is what he just said to me. Well, I used to put whipped cream on the top when I worked there. Good man. So you put the mockers on it. But that's nanny state. That's like now we're being told. Honestly, doesn't that make you want to go out and eat a burger?
Oh, massive. I will do, yeah.
Will you?
Yeah.
I had a female friend who went to Five Guys and came out really disappointed. She didn't think it was a burger joint. Now, Traitors. I don't know if you've been following this. Jodie will have definitely watched this. Celebrity Traitors. Prince William, Kate and their 3 kids will all be watching the Celebrity Traitors. The Royal admitted he was a fan as he awarded an OBE to Stephen Lambert, the founder of production company Studio Lambert. It starts tonight. What time's that, Jodie? 9 p.m. Record it and listen to Kev, and then Harry and watch it at midnight, because you'll get stroppy if I say that. Do we know who's on it? Who's on it? Kate Garrett, my mate's on it. Kate Gass is on it.
It's an incredible cast. There's Jonathan Ross,
Stephen Fry,
all sorts of people. There's an array of people on there. Joe Wilkinson, all sorts.
Joe Marler, the England rugby player, he's very funny. I don't really know the programme. Jodie probably does, but this
will be... You never watched it?
No, I don't really watch telly. Apparently I'm out of touch. Yeah, I'm definitely out of touch, unlike you'd like to be with John Lucas.
I put it on because we're all getting very excited about it downstairs. It's the TV editor, actually, Rod, came up to it and nearly told me the winner the other day.
Does he know the winner already?
He knows the winner, and I ran away from him.
Can he tell me and I'll release it, and then that'll ruin everybody's evening? No, I'm joking. But I actually have to say, it's one of the... It's a bit... It definitely worked, didn't it?
It did. And it's a big hit in the Barker household. We're all going to be watching it. And
do you watch it as a family?
Well, we're going to try it this time.
How old are the kids?
17 and 15.
You see, my kids would just go, oh, if I said to Henry, would you like to sit downstairs with Vic and I and watch Traitors? You're sick, and just walk off.
Yeah.
And
well,
I go, what?
We're going to give it a go.
Does your 17-year-old just grunt at you?
Well, sometimes he does, yeah.
God, that's a nice family view. When I were a kid, we used to sit down and watch Live from Her Majesty's with Jimmy Tarbuck.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't happen. Will Barker, it is the main paper. Oh, actually, here we go. Hold on. Let's tell you who's in it. If you do want to watch it, you could.
Well, look, you know, one of the worst things about working in a paper is actually we're doing a big page lead on this tomorrow, and I've actually seen what's in the episode already tonight because it's in the paper.
So we've got Kat Burns, no idea. Joe Wilkinson. Who's Joe Wilkinson?
He's a comedian.
Ruth Codd, the fishy if she wins. Claire Balding, of course, she's in good. David Olesiga, don't know. Nika, don't know. Paloma Faith, oh yeah. Celia Imre, great actress, been in everything. Mark Bonner, don't know. Nick Mohammed, don't know. Charlotte Church, oh, you can shut up, woman. I know Joe Wilkinson, the one with the beard, he's funny. Kay Garrow, 8-1, vote for her. Tamika Epson, no idea. Lucy Beaumont used to be married to that bloke, didn't she? Yeah. Joe Marler, vote for him. Alan Carr, Stephen Fry. That surprises me, Fry and Carr.
Really?
Do you know a secret about Alan Carr? Do you know about the football? Do you know that story?
No.
His dad, Alan Carr's dad, was the chief scout at Newcastle United for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like a proper football hero to the tune. And he'd take him along to matches and he'd go, I don't like that. Brilliant, very funny. The paper tomorrow, packed full to the brim with everything you need to know. The Sun, Traitors Uncloaked. And Will Barker off home now to that little family environment. We're all going to sit and his 17-year-old isn't going to grunt. He's going to... It's not going to happen, man. Go to Weatherspoons and have hot chocolate. Back in 3.
We must free up our housing market because a society where no one can afford to buy or move is a society where social mobility is dead. I have looked at the rates you have to pay to see if we can lower them. I have decided that we can't. because that simply wouldn't be enough. Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
5 to 7. Kev is here from 7. Harry Cole from 10. Steve Chandler, brilliant. I'll tell you where you can get unlimited fizzy drink refills. That's in luxury migrant 4-star hotels. Very true, very good. Becky says, bearing in mind that Lenny Henry wants reparations to everybody who's black, should we not be getting a payout from the French for the Norman invasion? Very good. Natasha says, Lenny Henry hasn't been funny at any point in his life. Kevin says, can't wait to see the back of this British-hating Prime Minister. Reformers should prepare for government. Kevin, I think that's right. Curvin, is it Curvin, is it? From Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk, a Britain-loving immigrant originally from Mauritius. Why did you come from Mauritius? You could have stayed there. You wouldn't have paid any income tax for a year because we've just given you the Chagos. The world's gone mad. Let's go to Hampshire. Thank you, by the way, for all your text messages, and also thank you to the team. Top job today. Thank you to Ryan. Jodie, amazing. Amy, amazing. Jana. Do you imagine if Jana was a janitor? Jana the janitor. That wouldn't work, would it? Ridiculous. Let's go to Hampshire. Laura Jane, you're on Talk Drive. Good evening.
I'll be quick.
Pardon? That's for me to say, not you. Let's do it again. Laura Jane is in Hampshire. Can you be quick, sweetheart? I've only got a couple of minutes.
Reparations from the Italians for the Roman invasion. That's one. Two, I wanted to ask Richard Tice if when they come into power, they could teach history properly in the old-fashioned way. Who were the kings? What war they fought?
No, you can't teach history in the proper way because we're embarrassed and very regretful about our past because everything we did was a disaster.
Yeah, well, if we taught history properly and learning how to reason, because they're not taught how to reason anymore. Thirdly, I worry that we've had the most ghastly couple of weeks with what went on in Manchester. What worries me is that people have also not understood it is not just about anti-Semitism. In the 7th century, after Muhammad died, the people who took over from Muhammad changed the whole narrative, and basically they said, that's it, no other religion's going to survive except for ours. And from that moment onwards until the 11th, 12th century, when we went to a pope and said, would you mind if we went on some crusades?
Laura, this is a bit deep, darling. We're nearly at the end of the show. I'm not trying to be difficult. I take your points, and please don't think me rude at all, but they're waving at me hideously. But I do take your point, and I do agree we should be educating about the history of our country without being embarrassed by it. Here he is again. I've just become your fluffer.
Yes,
Kevin.
I know. Yes, I know. I've got an incredible story tonight.
What have you got? Does that mean that the rest of us are rubbish? Because all you seem to do is have exclusives.
Implicitly, yes, it does. No, of course you're not. Robert Jenrick says we've got a problem with integration. I'm going to be showing in a few minutes a video that will prove he is exactly right.
Well, we know he's right because it's told, is it not, that 9% of Handsworth...
Yeah, never mind that. I've got the video that will prove something, will shock people. Absolutely shock people.
Do you think, though, it's a really interesting one, and I'll look forward to seeing that. Do you think that him saying it is racist? Because if you listen to, you were a journalist, The Guardian cut the front of what he said and the end of what he said.
But I don't. He just stated a fact.
Yeah.
And also, it's something that we should debate. And of course, what happened with Robert Jenrick and The Guardian and the left-wingers is their classic sledgehammer method of shutting down a debate that we ought to have. He's quite right. He saw what he saw in Handsworth. 1.5 hours. He said, I only didn't see another white face in all that time. And then, of course, the Guardianists start saying racist, you bigot, and so on and so forth. That's the technique they use to shut down a debate this nation needs to have, and I will show you the video that proves that Jenrick is more right than even he knows. It's shocking.
In all of your life as a fabled TV...
fabled journalist, a
fabled
TV
journalist,
critic.
have you ever wrestled with a pig?
Is that old Kemi and Nigel? No, I haven't, no.
We don't think Cameron can be very happy tonight.
Yes, I know. Isabel Oakeshott will be my guest for the first hour. She, of course, is the journalist who revealed the pig connection. So, yes, I can see that. But, I mean, the Tory conference will have a laugh at the Tory conference's expense. What the hell was it about? Do you want to know the saddest thing up there in Manchester? The saddest thing about that?
Gary Neville?
No, they took the auditorium, the hall. They had to put a massive, great black curtain down the middle of it because they couldn't fill up the whole hall. Whatever happened to Thatcher's great party?
Mate, I agree.
I think it's in its death throes.